Drove and see the nightlife, what they call Atlanta. Southside shows for a couple dollars, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. It's the Big Game Brew Party. I am your host, who definitely doesn't know the most, Andy Hopper, checking in. Got my Busch Light, got my Mitch Trubisky jersey on. Let's go Bears. Bear down. They're not in the Super Bowl. Obviously, they will not be a topic of conversation, but I had to throw that in while I could. So tonight is going to be an awesome night. I'm joined by three of my favorite podcasting friends, all out of the state of New York, all Giants fans. So we have that loser team mentality here coming in, taking shots already, and they can't even say anything back. So I'm going to introduce them all individually. We'll start off, since Women in Sports Day was recently this week. One of my favorite females in sports, one of my favorite women in sports, one of my best friends in podcasting. Ladies and gentlemen, from the Girl Who Talks Sports podcast, the one, the only, the incomparable Sam Cardona. Sam, how are you doing?
Oh my God, what an introduction. That was amazing.
Listen, it's the big game. We're doing it big time. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on. I love coming back on here. It's fantastic. I got a seltzer this time. Last time I had wine, but I actually have some sort of beer looking thing this time. So I'm ready to go.
Good. I didn't bring my wine glass this time, so that's good. So before we bring the guys in, let's talk a little bit about your podcast, The Girl Who Talks Sports. I want to plug that real quick. Tell me a little bit about what you got going on with it, what the whole theme is, anything big you're doing this week for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, so I'm really excited. My Super Bowl episode this week is my 100th episode of my podcast. I'm really excited about it. My very, very good friend Jordan will be joining me this week on our very special episode. If you guys follow me, you know Jordan. She is an Eagles fan. I'm a Giants fan, but we are very, very close. So it's a fun dynamic between the two of us. So that's what's coming up this week. Last week we had our regular pre-Super Bowl episodes, but my episodes come out every single Wednesday. You can find them on all podcasting platforms at The Girl Who Talks Sports and on YouTube, also at The Girl Who Talks Sports.
Amazing. So what are you going to be doing for the big game tomorrow?
Just chilling at home, taking it easy. But the amount of food that my family has gotten did not change, despite the fact that we won't have people over. So we are going to eat a lot. We are going to have a good time. We're going to just completely enjoy the Super Bowl. It's going to be such a good game. I'm so excited for it. So yeah, just taking it easy, but consuming a lot of food and probably a lot of seltzers as well.
Absolutely. That's the only way to do it. We now bring on the head honcho, the master, the controller of everything over at Review and Preview Sports, the mastermind behind the scenes, your host of Review and Preview Sports, your host of Big Blue Avenue, a New York Giants podcast, Facebook live show, a Notre Dame guy, one of my co-hosts on From the Stand Sports college football show. Tom Scavetta is here. Tommy, how we doing, buddy?
What's up, Andy? What's up, Sam? Thanks a lot for having me on your show tonight. It's weird, three New Yorkers doing a podcast with a crazy guy from Champaign, Illinois. Thank you so much, Andy. This is a true pleasure. Love the Mitch jersey, by the way. It looks good on you.
Oh, love it. I don't know how much longer I can wear it or how much longer he'll be in that uniform, so we're going to cherish it as long as it's possible. So, Tom, you're joining my Super Bowl show. You guys over at Review and Preview actually have your own Super Bowl show going tomorrow morning. Tell me a little bit about what you guys are going to be doing there.
So tomorrow at 10 a.m., Review and Preview Sports will be having their Super Bowl kickoff show. It'll be myself, Hank, who we'll get to that in just a minute, James, and then a couple of my other buddies, Paul Lombardi and Gabe Flayton, the host of the North Pole, who both of you know. So it'll be the five of us at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow morning on Review and Preview Sports Facebook Live. You're going to want to check that out. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So you guys have like a million different shows, it feels like, over there at Review and Preview. Give me a quick rundown of your guys' weekly schedule over on Facebook Live.
So recently we just launched a basketball show called the 3&D podcast, hosted by Paul Lombardi. That's Mondays from 6 to 7. And then Tuesday we have our Review and Preview show, 7 to 9. And then we do have the North Pole, which is kind of in a little sabbatical right now since football season is ending. And then Big Blue Avenue, which is in remission as well. That'll be shooting back up around free agency time. And Sam's going to be joining me for that as well. That's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, pretty busy schedule. Lots of different shows on our network. And it's fun. And the two of you have been outstanding guests for us. You guys have been very consistent and excellent. So I appreciate both of you, and I love this collaboration networking that we're doing.
Absolutely. I will say, before 3&D, I was the first guest to appear on every single one of the Review and Preview shows, so still waiting for my invite to that. Let's get to your co-host of Big Blue Avenue, the one and only. I mean, can I even give this guy a proper introduction? The Break Room Bombs. The hottest takes on Facebook every week leading up to the games. He just dropped his prediction for the Super Bowl. My guy, co-host of Big Blue Avenue, Hank Indictor, the biggest Rangers, Yankees, and Giants fan out there. Well, you guys are probably all similar in fandom as far as the Giants goes, but I'll give him the other two. Hank, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm pretty good. And first off, Andy, cheers.
Cheers, buddy.
Second off, thanks a lot for having me. I'm really looking forward to this. And what can I say? You guys are pretty much some of my favorite people to talk football with. So I'm looking forward to a long night of what should be a long, fun discussion and enjoying some good brews with you guys. And as Tom said, tomorrow we will have a show tomorrow at 10. I unfortunately cannot make it to said show because I have to be working where said break room is. Sad face. But, however, with that being said, 10 out of 10, I recommend. Give that one a watch. Please like, subscribe, follow Big Blue Avenue, follow Review and Preview on Facebook. Sorry, I'm thinking about my own show. But
Yeah.
Anyways, we do a lot of great stuff. And I also want to announce pretty soon, I am going to do my own baseball show eventually when the time comes around for that. Looking forward to talking about some pinstripes. But obviously, before we get to that, we got to talk some football. Big week coming up. Two of the best quarterbacks going at each other. Well, okay, let me rephrase that. You got one of the best quarterbacks currently against a guy that I don't know how you can really argue against the case that he's the greatest of all time. And I'm talking, obviously, of course, about Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady.
Absolutely, Hank. It is a pleasure to have you here as always, my friend. Looking forward to starting up that baseball show. I love your baseball facts. You're like a walking encyclopedia of sports, man. Like any year, any stat, if I need to know it, I am going to ask you about it. Also, for the show tomorrow, if we don't get a Hank call in from the break room for a break room bomb during the Super Bowl show, I'm going to be pretty upset. So
We're gonna miss you, man.
Oh, don't worry. I'm gonna comment when the time comes. My break's usually when I'm usually working in the morning. My break's usually around 10, 11. So I'll definitely drop a comment or two around there. It's gonna be fun.
Hank's baseball show will be awesome. Thank you for tuning in, Hank's mom. James, this was a little late. Loser team. We went against Tom Brady twice. It's more of like a what have you done
Yeah,
for me?
right. One of them.
What have you done? What have you done for me lately? That's what I'm talking about here. But
Andy, just want to throw this in. It's not a Super Bowl appropriate show without an Eli jersey in the background.
that is true. I love that. I love that. So thank you, everybody, tuning in for this. I kind of put this together all this week, had this idea, couldn't really think of a better group. I had a couple that fell through, like Sam said, Sporty Jordy couldn't be here. Gabe Flayton, host of North Pole, couldn't be here as well. But I love this group that we have here. Looking forward to a great night. Please go ahead and like and follow us on Facebook at the Brew Party Podcast. We drop at least one episode per week, along with our weekly gambling segment, Maloney's Money Line, along with my guy, Ryan Maloney. Fortunately, we were on like a little 2-week hiatus here. Our schedules didn't really line up. That's more on me than on him, obviously, because I'm the host. But that's neither here nor there. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Brew Party. And then please subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/The Brew Party. And then all of our links, all of our episodes, www.thebrewparty.com. You can find all of that there. We just dropped our 50th episode with one and only Robbie Fox, Octagon Bob from Barstool Sports. We had over 5,000 views on our on Twitter for that episode, over 350 viewers at once live. That was absolutely insane. Thank you to anybody and everybody that tuned in or listened to the podcast. That is available now. So enough promo. We're here. We're talking about the big game. I can't say the actual name because I don't want to get sued. I am just a poor guy from Illinois, or a crazy guy from Illinois, as Tom like to say. Sam, I'm going to start with you for this one. Initial thoughts going into this game. Chiefs favored by 3 points for all of our gamblers out there. What are your thoughts going into this game? Which side are you leaning towards?
So I'm like, I guess you could say I'm kind of cheaping out a little with how I'm feeling about this game, because my heart is telling me that the Chiefs are going to take it and that like that's the team that I'm rooting for. But underneath it all, there's something in my soul that is telling me the Buccaneers and Tom Brady are going to do some immaculate things in this game and come out. And honestly, most of the things that are telling me that is the fact that this is this man's 10th Super Bowl. All right. I'm sure we've heard that throughout this entire week and probably this entire year at this point. This guy is chasing ring number 7. You don't like, he's 43 years old. I know that he's talking about he's not going anywhere anytime soon. But do you really think that he's going to take this Super Bowl for granted? I don't think so. And he's been able to take this team that has not even been in the playoffs since 2007 and brings them to the Super Bowl. I think that that's really special. So my gut just tells me to root against Tom Brady always. But my brain is telling me that this Buccaneers team and Tom Brady, just to put it short, are somehow going to pull out this miraculous win. Might be close, though. Might be close.
I love that point that you just said. He's definitely not going to take that for granted. And I like how you said, what is he, 42, 43? But
he's 43
if you look
now.
If you look at his stats from this year, 401 for 600, completed 401 passes out of 610 attempts. That's good for 65% completion there. 4,633 yards, averaging just over 7 yards per attempt. 40 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Most completions he's had in 5 years since 2015. And his QBR of 72.6 was his best since 2016. So he's, I don't want to say getting better with age, but the way he approaches the game is different from, I think, a lot of people who have ever played it. You know, he different than Peyton Manning. He may not be thinking about the next play and always trying to go for a positive play. He might be, he's okay with taking a negative, reading the situation and coming back out the next time and reacting differently, reacting in a positive way. We've seen that for his career. He's been in 48% of the Super Bowls, which is absolutely insane. Hank,
Right.
I know you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but you just dropped your Facebook plug. What are you thinking about this game? Which way are you leaning here?
You know, this is a really tough one, and I can't say I'm picking this with 100% confidence. I know Tom kept begging me multiple times over the course of the week, take Tom Brady. He's the GOAT. You picked against him in the past and it came back to hurt you. But here's the thing. Kansas City and Andy Reid, coming off a bye week, has an extremely good track record. He rarely loses. And when you have him and Pat Mahomes, it's a tough combo, which is really crazy that I'm saying it, because if you really look at the two teams roster by roster, I'm obviously would take Tampa, but then again, sometimes it comes down to that quarterback. And no matter how good of a defense Tampa has, it's going to be tough to stop Patrick Mahomes and that set of weapons he has, which, good Lord. I want to say the Chiefs, and I think it's going to be the Chiefs, but I can't. I'd be lying to you if I said I was 100% confident in that pick, because in no way, shape, or form am I discrediting Tom Brady. I'm man enough to admit the guy's the GOAT. Yeah, I know my team beat him in the Super Bowl twice, but still, you don't get to 10 Super Bowls by accident. Sure, there may have been luck involved, but then you could also look at some of the unlucky moments that have happened to Tom Brady. It's going to be extremely close, but give me the Chiefs by one of the hairs on my beard.
I love the point you brought up about Andy Reid off a bye, His winning, he's won 84% of his games coming off of a bye. That includes the regular season and the playoffs there. I believe it's like 16-3 in the playoffs and 16-3 in the regular season, 5-2 in the playoffs, somewhere around there. I don't think that's exact. Tom, it's your turn. Your thoughts on the game. I know you're begging Hank, like he said, to go with Tom Brady. Or do you think the Bucs pull this off?
Well, I think I'm going to surprise some people, as in Hank, with this. So Sam brought up a point before. The Bucs haven't been in the playoffs since 2007. That loss was actually to the Giants, to Steve Spagnuolo's defense, and that's what Adam Rothschild has up here. Spagnuolo and the Chiefs' defense, and if you remember, the Bucs' last loss was in Week 12. I think it was Week 12 against Kansas City, 27-24. They played in the regular season, and history tells you don't go with the Chiefs in this game because it's nearly impossible to repeat Super Bowls. You're going against Tom Brady in his home stadium. But here's the problem. I get it. They're missing both their starting tackles. I understand that Tampa Bay's defense has been electric this entire postseason. Sean Murphy Bunting has come out of nowhere as at a pick in each game. Devin White has been a monster for them. They have Jason Pierre-Paul and Shaq Barrett, who made Aaron Rodgers look like chopped liver. But Brady can't beat a Steve Spagnuolo defense. Now, I really want to agree with both of you, Hank and Sam. I almost called you him. Tells you,
Sam.
Good start I'm off to. But look, I think Kansas City is going to win this game, and it's not because of Brady versus Mahomes. It's because of Brady versus a Steve Spagnuolo-led defense. And if you remember, Brady threw 3 picks against the Packers in the NFC Championship game. The Chiefs' defense is better than Green Bay's. Not by much, but by a little bit. I'm really impressed with L'Jarius Sneed. I'm going to be rooting for the Bucs in this game. I'm going to be rooting for the Bucs, but I think the Chiefs are going to win by 2, maybe 3 points.
Okay. So that's our perspective. I guess I need to give mine. I don't know, guys. Like, let's look at how these teams got here first. So let's start with the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, the AFC #1 seed, AFC champions, 14-2 during the regular season. So during the regular season, they averaged 29.6 points per game. They only allowed 20.5 points per game, which the narrative for this team is that they're all offense. They're all offense. Their defense still needs to catch up a little bit. They have weaknesses there. And can the Tampa Bay Buccaneers exploit that? If we look at their defensive rankings, they're the number 11 defense in the NFL, the number 14 pass defense, number 21 rush defense, which is not great. But as of late, the secondary has been very good. Tyrann Mathieu has been very hungry for the ball. You mentioned it. Rookie L'Jarius Sneed has had a great season so far. Can the secondary get to Tom Brady? KC had 16 interceptions during the regular season as far as the defense goes. And they're 14th as far as the running game goes. Can they stop playoff Leonard Fournette? Because that is apparently what Tampa Bay wants to do, is try to run the ball, keep it out of Patrick Mahomes' hands against this Kansas City defense that allowed 14 rushing touchdowns and 4.5 yards per carry during the regular season. So any games for the Chiefs this season really stick out to you guys where you thought that maybe – or where you knew, I mean, obviously the defending Super Bowl champions, everybody kind of thought they would be here, but was there one game where you thought, all right, they're really turning it on, they're really ready here to make this run back to the Super Bowl? Hank, I'm going to start with you.
I would say probably either the Cleveland game or maybe the Oakland game, surprisingly. The reason I say the Oakland game, Oakland gave them not the Oakland game. I'm sorry, Vegas. Gosh, I'm falling into the same trap the Chargers did with San Diego. Anyways, my point is, if you remember the Raiders game, the Raiders left them way too much time. Patrick Mahomes led them right down the field, scored the touchdown. That was really the closest big game, I guess you could say, the Chiefs won. I mean, I know after that they kind of like took their foot off the gas and nonchalant won some games at the end. But then let's get to the Cleveland game. Before Pat Mahomes had that injury, they were dominating that game. And it took that injury for Cleveland to really go into it. But then once it got close, Andy Reid said, you know what? Who cares? Let's go for it on 4th down. Why not? They get the first down, and I'm like, oh, gosh. If Patrick Mahomes is healthy against Buffalo could very well be screwed. Right. And while, I kind of was hoping Buffalo would make it closer, and I was hoping they'd give them a little bit of competition, which, don't get me wrong, they were great, but up 9-0 against Kansas City, it's not safe. And once Patrick Mahomes scored that first touchdown, I'm like, oh, they're in trouble. Yeah, they're. It's funny. They can kind of sleep through December, but then they'll just show up when they want to. They're that deadly.
They just flip a switch like this. Like it's like better than any team I think we've seen in quite a long time. Where just when they want to start scoring the ball, they can. I think on almost every one of their passing plays, they're designed to score a touchdown in some way. Obviously, they don't on every play, but there is almost a chance you feel like that one of them is going to just break off a big run and run by everybody. If we're talking about their offense, they're the number 1 passing offense in the NFL, number 16 rush offense, 53 total touchdowns scored this season. They have a nose for the end zone. They're a big play team. I think it's if Tampa Bay can limit that. On the running side of the ball, Tampa Bay is the number 1 rush defense in the NFL. Do they hold Clyde Edwards-Helaire to a slower game like we saw them do in their first matchup? I'm not really sure. Sam, let's go to you. As far as the Chiefs go this year, were they your Super Bowl favorite the entire year?
Yeah, my early picks back, I believe the day before the first game of the season was Chiefs-Packers, with the Bucs playing the Packers in the NFC Championship game. So I had a feeling that, Tom Brady was going to stick around for a while, but in terms of the Chiefs, I definitely believed that they were going to make it back here. And in terms of what specific game I was thinking about, the first thing that came to mind was their one loss. Well, they had 2 losses, but the last week for them doesn't count. They didn't play their starters, but the other game against Vegas where they lost, and that was the only loss of their season. It was a division game. Divisional games are usually a bit harder. Or, the other teams can read these other teams that other teams playing one time a year as opposed to playing twice a year, so they can kind of figure them out a little bit faster. But that was a game that I was thinking about the second you said that. I was like, they definitely saw that one loss rather, and we're like, okay, we need to make sure that this doesn't happen again for the rest of the season, unless it's week 17 and you're going to the playoffs and, none of their starters were playing against the Chargers in that last week. So that was definitely, I think, a motivational thing for them. They definitely didn't want to lose any games after that. I think if they had won that game, they would have went undefeated this season, to be quite honest with you. But the Chiefs, let me just say really quick, I know I'm going to go with Tom Brady and the Buccaneers in this, but the Chiefs are ridiculously good. This is not going to be a walk in the park for Tom Brady. It's never going to be a walk in the park in the Super Bowl, unless you're the Rams, but that's a different story for a different day. But, I'm just I want the Chiefs to win, and I want to see Patrick Mahomes coat back-to-back Super Bowls, and this is a monumental Super Bowl, too, for Patrick Mahomes. If he wins this game against Tom Brady, this is an actual baton pass to as that GOAT, whole thing that's going on right now. That he's literally passing. It's just okay, Patrick, you stay healthy for the rest of your career. You are going to be just like Tom Brady. So that's the kind of mentality I'm thinking going into this game. And again, the Chiefs are spectacular. I mean, Travis Kelce is such a threat on this offense. It's actually terrifying how he is a wide receiver, tight end, running back, all rolled into one. And he's enormous and he can beat down defenders. It's insane. So I definitely think Kansas City is going to go into this game just hype. They're we're going to the Super Bowl again for the second time in 2 years. That's insane. So I definitely think that they're going into this just with the mentality that they're like, we can show everyone that we can beat Tom Brady. And whether or not Tom Brady allows them to do this is another story, but that's the kind of headspace that I'm in.
Absolutely. So Tom, I'll go to you. What was your thoughts going into the season? Did you see the Chiefs making this run back to the Super Bowl, and any game really stick out in your mind from the Chiefs season?
Yeah, I did. I had a feeling they'd be back. To me, I thought the Chiefs were very fraudulent at times this year. I don't think they're as good of a team as they were last year. I think Patrick Mahomes is obviously better, but they didn't really lose some key pieces. I just think with the whole COVID outbreak season and everything that they had, and I know their record was a little better, but for me, if I had to pick one game, it's the game in the Superdome against the Saints. That's a tough place to play, whether they had Drew Brees or not. That goes out the window. The Saints had an elite defense. They were probably, well, outside of the Rams, the best defense in the NFC all year. And they were able to wrap that one up. A lot of teams don't win in New Orleans. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah,
I know the Bucs did it in the playoffs, but for the Chiefs to do that at our conference game, that's very impressive. And look, I get it. You would like to pick a conference game or a divisional game, but this game it hurt the Saints. It really hurt the Saints. Not only did it help the Chiefs, but it really downgraded the Saints where they had to play on Wild Card Weekend. They were pretty much no longer the 1 seed, and that's a credit to Kansas City. And Hank mentioned earlier, Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, Steve Spagnuolo. Those 3 guys can all be head coaches anywhere in the league. Now, Spags, the experiment, has failed in the past with the Rams, but Spags can lead a team. He can lead a team 100%, and that's what really separates Kansas City from the rest of the league, in my opinion, personally. Now, that's just, to me, the signature moment of the season for them is definitely that win against the Saints. And I think it's going to help them on Sunday, too. It's a good battle test for sure.
Absolutely. Quickly, I'll get to this comment. Red Rasmus Music. Hey, Andy. Glad I could catch this. I'm glad you could as well. Thank you so much for being here. My guy from the Funch Bunch. We met watching Ron Funches on Twitch. Comedian Ron Funches. Check him out. He is absolutely incredible. Follows me on Twitter. Insane. All right, let's get back to the Kansas City Chiefs. So let's look at their 2 playoff games very quickly here. So obviously they had that win versus the Browns that comes down really to that 4th down where they decide to run it, where Tony Romo almost like came his pants because he couldn't believe that Reed called a pass play, which they've done multiple times before. The Chad Henne game, we'll call it. But if we look quickly at their playoff statistics, so in the playoffs, they're averaging 438 yards per game, 320 yards through the air, 118.5 on the ground, which is a little bit better than what they were doing during the regular season. I think 30 points per game, so really nice there. They're allowing 335 yards. They're 215 yards to the air, 120 yards rushing on the ground, something I think Tampa Bay is going to have to take advantage of, but they're only allowing 20 points a game. Let's start with their win over the Browns, 22-17. It comes down. This is questionable. The Browns fumble into the end zone. I'm going to get your guys' take on this rule real quick, what you thought about that play. Also, potential helmet-to-helmet hit that was not called. Tom, I'm going to start with you this time. Overall takeaway from that game, I really wanted the Browns to win. I thought a Browns-Bills AFC Championship game would have been absolutely electric. But let's go to the Chiefs-Browns games. Did you think that call, that fumble in the end zone, was the difference there?
Well, they call him Dirty Dan for a reason. And Daniel Sorensen, I mean, he gave Rashard Higgins a nice – if you're Rashard Higgins, you have to hold on to the football. I don't think it was intentional, but the bottom line is he hit him. He hit him in the helmet. And, look, I understand the comp, but if you're Rashard Higgins, I mean, you have to do your best to hold on to the football. And if you're Cleveland, everyone's like, oh, well, we only lost by 5 points. But at that point in the game, they had so many opportunities to take the lead. If you're really going to look back at that one point in the game, well, what if this? What if that? Then you don't deserve to win the football game. That's the bottom line. Cleveland didn't deserve to win. They were going up against a Chad Henne led Kansas City team. Now, I do think it was a penalty. Do I think if it was dirty? Again, I think it's one of those hits where you have to really look back and see, was Sorensen leading with his head? Was Sorensen trying to intentionally hurt the guy? No. So if that's the classification of dirty, then I would say no. But it should have been a penalty. And, at the end of the day, did the officials make the right call? I don't know. At that very moment, I thought it should have been a touchdown. But looking back at it now, I don't know. I'm still leaning but I kind of have to. You hit me there, the curveball. I have to watch a couple more reruns of that. I mean, look, Sorensen's a good player. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. The Browns lost the football game. I think that's definitely a controversial call that you could look back and say either way, dirty this. But Higgins shouldn't have fumbled the football. 100%.
Exactly. Hank, what do you think about that rule? A lot of people call it the worst rule in sports.
What rule? The helmet to helmet or the touchback?
No, the fumble in the end zone going as a touchback.
Oh, that's an annoying rule. I hate that.
Yeah.
Because then you have to put the ball all the way back to the 25-yard line. You're resetting it. That's annoying. But then again, on the other hand, I actually see both sides of it because it's probably one of the few rules in the NFL, if you really think about it, that benefits the defense. But still, it's just annoying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, to piggyback off what Tom's saying, I don't really think that was necessarily a dirty hit, but yeah, Higgins, I think his job was to hold on to the football. He couldn't do that. And to be honest with you, if Patrick Mahomes doesn't get hurt, I don't think we're even having this discussion because the Chiefs probably win by more than just 5.
Absolutely.
And the Chiefs are a better team anyway. So yeah, as bad of a break as Cleveland got, it is what it is. KC was the better team. They deserved it.
Absolutely. Do you have any thoughts on that rule or on the Browns Chiefs games? I want to get your thoughts specifically on the Bills game because I know you were doing a lot of coverage for the Sports Universe on Instagram about the Bills during the season or the second half of the season. So give me your thoughts on Browns, then I'm going to lead with you on the Bills game as well.
Yeah, with the Browns game, I agree with you, Andy. I was going for the Browns. I kind of wanted to see the underdogs win in that game. But in terms of the touchback rule, yes, 100%, it's annoying. It definitely shouldn't just automatically go to the other team. I think that's really stupid. I think that, if you fumble in the end zone, there should be some sort of rule there. But it just doesn't really make any sense to me because the other team never really they never actually recovered the ball. So that doesn't make any sense to me. Whether or not the Browns would have won, I don't think so. I think that a lot of people going into that game were like, the Chiefs are coming off of a bye. Like Hank was saying before, Andy Reid rarely loses after a bye. So with the Chiefs rested and resting after week 17 as well, Patrick Mahomes was resting. All of their starters had basically been just chilling out for 2 weeks. So they were ready to go in that game. I really had no thought that they weren't going to win that game. But it would have definitely been really fun to see the Browns in the AFC Championship game because, who would have thunk that? That would have been an insane end to a 2020 NFL season. But yeah, the touchback rule really drives me crazy. I think that it's really dumb, but I don't think it would have helped. I don't think it would have helped the Browns win at all, really.
As somebody that took Browns money line live bet when they're driving down 5, I'm pretty upset about the call. Okay. But no, I agree with what you guys said completely. I think that is one of the worst rules in sports, but there is such a gray area there.
Yeah.
For both sides. And at the end of the day, I think Tom, you said it best. You can't fumble the football. The ball is your job in the NFL. You have to hang on to it. And then we could talk all day about missed calls and shitty refs because it's across all sports. But let's move on to the Buccaneers. We have to talk about the Bills game. I'm sorry, Sam. So you're covering the Bills, the number 2 offense in the NFL. the Chiefs are pretty much able to shut them down after they go up 9-0. Obviously, the Chiefs have that bad snap and then the fumble on the punt to set the Bills up for that score. They have all the momentum, and then from there, it just felt like the life absolutely got taken out of them, and Kansas City was just in control.
Yeah, with the Bills, the thing was that they just made their way through the playoffs. I was stoked to see them in the AFC Championship game, but we saw it in both of the games that they played before that. I saw them struggling even with the Colts, and then with the Ravens, that game was atrocious, especially the first half of that game. Offensively, that was a defensive game. I was extremely disappointed, actually, and I was really expecting the Bills to do a lot better offensively, and that just wasn't the case. I know there was a wind factor, but you got to learn. If you're playing in your stadium, you should know how to play with this high winds. Like that's your home. So I definitely was a little disappointed with the Bills in this offseason. Last year I saw it as well. Josh Allen does not like pressure. He loves the comfy little pocket. He loves his offensive line, pushing all those guys back, and how he has more than enough time to throw the ball. Because when he throws the ball or when he takes off to run, spectacular, amazing. We love to see Josh Allen run. But when that is not the thing, he starts to panic, and he doesn't know what to do. So I think that's his main thing. I mean, he's a young quarterback. He's still got, this was his first real postseason, takeaway with everything going on, and that he continued on through 3 games. I just don't know if he was ready. And even if they did win, I would have think that if it was the Bucs Bills in the Super Bowl, I don't think it would have been much of a competition there. So the Bills, I think we have not seen the last of them. The Bills are fantastic, and we will see them again next year. But Josh Allen needs to work on the fact that he can't freak out when they're down by points, or he can't freak out when there's guys running at him, because that's not how you win games.
Yeah, I think that composure just comes with time.
Yeah,
as a starting quarterback. But I mean, I don't think the Bills played their best game in the playoffs. And then obviously you said it, struggled with the Colts. The Ravens game was not great to watch at all. I mean, on both sides of the ball, the Ravens offense wasn't doing anything ever. Did Lamar have to poop again? We'll never know. But for Josh, like his flick of the wrist when he just throws it 50 yards is one of the most beautiful throws in the NFL. I will say that. I think there's a lot of upside on that. Obviously, what Stephon Diggs was able to do this year with over 1,500 yards receiving, I think there's a lot of just upswing on the Bills. They hadn't been in that position. The Chiefs were in their 3rd straight AFC Championship game. They had Patrick Mahomes, $400 million man. So we're not surprised here. Again, I had the Bills +3 and Bills money line because I'm a fucking terrible gambler. So let's move on to the Buccaneers, guys. Let's talk about how they got here. Obviously 11-5. The story here, they've won 7 games in a row, including the playoffs. Their last loss, November 29th, to these Kansas City Chiefs. What is going to be different this time around, Hank?
I think the difference is it's not going to be a blowout at the beginning like it was last time, because I know it was only a 3-point game last time, but final scores aren't really always reflective of what happens. I don't think Tyreek Hill is going to have that historic performance in the first quarter again. Not against a good defense like Tampa Bay, at least. But with that said, I think it'll probably go, say, back and forth. It's probably, whereas I think probably maybe a late last-second touchdown drive is what wins the game.
I can definitely see that happening. Whoever gets the ball last, I think I think Brady's coming out with a vengeance this time, especially after the way his postseason ended last year with the pick 6. He brings the Bucs all the way back, somewhere they haven't, Tom said, what did you say, since 2007, even making the playoffs, somewhere around there. If you look at their per game numbers during the year, they were the number 3 offense in the NFL, number 2 pass. So in this game, in this Super Bowl, it's the number 1 passing offense against the number 2 passing offense. So I think both these teams are going to air it out. Obviously, we know about the weapons on both sides of the ball here. During the regular season, Tampa Bay is averaging 30 points a game. They're allowing only 23 points a game, 393 yards of total offense, just under 300 yards passing with 298.5. Only 94.9 rush yards per game, which I think could be a problem, especially if they want to try to establish the run in this game and keep the ball away from Patrick Mahomes. They are allowing 366 yards per game, which is exactly the same as the Kansas City defense, which is pretty interesting. 280 through the air, but only 85 rush yards allowed all season, and they've continued that in the playoffs as well. So it's, as far as their offense goes, we'll start there. Number 2 pass, as I said, number 29 rush in the league. And I mean, if they want to run the ball, keep it out of Mahomes' hands, are they going to be able to do that against Chris Jones and this Kansas City front? What will playoff Lenny do? Leonard Fournette, 211 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground, and 102 receiving yards, 1 touchdown in their 3 playoff games. What are Evans, Godwin, Brown going to do? Can they get loose? Or Gronk and Cameron Brate going to be used pretty heavily? This offense has scored 58 total touchdowns this season, guys. They're another one of those teams similar to the Chiefs. It feels like they can flip a switch, maybe not as easily, but they have, I don't want to say better weapons than the Chiefs, but they stack up pretty damn good. On the defensive side of the ball, you talk about guys like Vita Vea in the middle. Levante David's had a great year. Devin White, Antoine Winfield Jr., the rookie out of Minnesota, has had an awesome year for them. They're number 21 against the pass, but number 1 against the rush, and I think that's going to be huge. If they can take Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Le'Veon Bell out of this game for the Chiefs and make them throw the ball. Obviously, the Chiefs are the number 1 pass offense, like I said. But, making a team one-dimensional, you're going to take that more than you're not. The number 8 overall defense in the NFL. How does the secondary keep up with Mahomes and all of the weapons? They have to force turnovers, in my opinion. Got to bring pressure up the middle as well. I think make it tough on this Kansas City offensive line. I'm going to shout out former Illini Nick Allegretti, who's 7th round pick, now starting in his 2nd Super Bowl after, going through a lot of bullshit here at the University of Illinois while he was in college. But that's enough. I just rambled for way too long. Let's talk about the Bucs, how they got here. Any game specifically, like we did with the Chiefs, stick out to you guys when you felt that they were turning the corner, they were a legit threat, make the Super Bowl, or I'm sorry, the big game, the first team in NFL history to play in the Super Bowl at their home stadium after 3 road games in the playoffs, let's not act like they dominated all of these games. They played some that were very close. Hank, I'm going to go to you here.
That's a good question. I want to say the Lions game maybe because, Brady had that historic performance and people were thinking, oh my gosh, Brady has been aging like a fine wine. To me, I would actually say that the game that really made me think, hey, maybe they might go to the Super Bowl. I'm going to say the Saints game in the divisional round. Even though I had the Packers winning the NFC Championship game, and we don't know how that turned out. I think that one was
shame. It's a shame how that turned out, isn't it, guys?
I know.
Real shame.
Very much so.
I drank the Kool-Aid with both the Packers and the Bills, sadly. But
me too, Hank.
Let's not talk about that. I think the Buccaneers over the course of the second half, I know they were kind of winning all those games, but I'm like, let's see how they do against a team like the Saints. Because remember, they didn't play a strong competition in the end. And there's a reason why I kind of sort of may or may not have taken the Washington football team in the first round. But with that having been said, after that game and after the Saints game, I'm like, they're rolling. And fun fact, this is actually the first time Tom Brady has made it to a Super Bowl without the advantage of a bye week in the first round. So I think I would say the Saints game because I kind of had a feeling they were going to win that because they'd played them 2 times. They got walloped, and I'm thinking they're playing them the 3rd time. I think that's going to be much different. And you know what it was? Devin White was the best player on the field that day. That defense just completely shut down the Saints pretty much in the second half. And yeah, they were toast. I think that was the game that made me realize they were a legit shot.
Absolutely. So The Bucs will win if they hurt T. Hill or Pat. We don't want to root for that, but I guess so. Wait, what? Why are you dismissing the last game so easily? What? I don't know. What
Bucs Chiefs game he's talking about? The last Bucs Chiefs game.
I'm not. I don't know if
No.
he's talking to me because it's from 641, but I don't think so. I mean, obviously the Chiefs won 27-24, but it wasn't like a blowout. It was another one of the one-score win for the Chiefs. I mean, I think I have some stats written down from that game. I mean, so the Chiefs were able to dominate the time of possession there. They had the ball for 36 minutes, 47 seconds to the Bucs 23 minutes, 13 seconds. I mean, Mahomes was able to throw for 462 yards, 3 touchdowns. Hank, you hit on it earlier. Tyreek Hill's an insane game, 13 receptions, 269 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So he's going to, like, how are they going to guard him? Like Travis Kelce he's going to get his in this game. I feel like, I mean, I don't know what to think about it. One thing that Tampa Bay was able to do well was stop the run. It's Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 11 carries for 37 yards. Tom Brady has got to take care of the ball. You know, in this first matchup, 27 for 41, 345, 3 touchdowns with those 2 picks. I think Tampa Bay is going to have to force turnovers and take care of the ball. You have to keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. So I don't think I'm dismissing the last game so easily at all. I think it was a close game. Do the Chiefs have the upper hand here? Absolutely. But it's Tom Brady in his 10th Super Bowl with better weapons than he's had in how long, guys? Like, come on. Like, I don't know what I'm dismissing here. Let's go to you, Sam. What are you thinking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Did you see them in the Super Bowl at all this year?
Like I said earlier, I definitely had them in the championship game. I just really thought that the Packers were going to come out on top in terms of that. I mean, to be quite honest with you, they definitely could have, but they decided to kick the ball on 4th down and down by, but whatever. I'm not going to upset myself about that again because that
Shame
was
on you, Matt LaFleur.
it was not good, and he keeps reiterating too. He's like, I stand by that. I'm like, why? You lost. I love Hank's mom.
She's I prefer
Hank is not drinking the Kool-Aid, or I should put my pinky up here. Pinky's up, not drinking the Kool-Aid or fine wine.
She's correct. I prefer the buddy varieties.
Exactly. Sam, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
That comment up there.
You're good. Yeah, so in terms of the Buccaneers, I think that their strong point is going to be in their run game in this game because of the fact that the Chiefs defense, if they do have a weakness, it's the run game. So their run defense is not spectacular. So I would definitely utilize Leonard Fournette. I would definitely utilize Ronald Jones II. You know, if they can do nickel and dime plays throughout the first half of that game and just get down the field and put points on the board, which Tom Brady is very good at doing. He doesn't care about throwing the ball, 30, 40 yards down the field. I mean, when he needs to, he does, but he doesn't mind just tossing the ball and getting 5 yards, 7 yards, then a first down. Like, it doesn't bother him that way. So I definitely think that the Buccaneers are going to do a lot of little plays that then lead up to big numbers. And the fact that Tom Brady also is very good under pressure, especially in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. So to think that, we're down by a touchdown and then Tom Brady gets the ball, I mean, that's the last place as a Kansas City Chief where you want the balls in Tom Brady's hands within the 2-minute warning. So I definitely think that that's going to be the main part of that game. There are definitely going to be a couple really big plays. He can show that he can throw the ball down the field and have a spectacular play, especially to someone like Antonio Brown, who is questionable right now, but might play in this game. Or sometimes Gronk comes out of nowhere. Gronk doesn't show up for the entire game. All of a sudden he pops up and catches a game-winning touchdown, and you're like, I totally forgot Rob Gronkowski was even in the league. So it's the Buccaneers, I think, are filled with a lot of surprises, and I think that that's going to be one of their main components to win this game and to end up beating the Chiefs overall.
Absolutely. I mean, you talk about Gronk in the last matchup, 6 receptions for 106 yards. He's their
Yeah.
leading receiver. So he will come out of nowhere for the season. Brady likes to spread the ball around. He has so many guys he can go to. You talk about Mike Evans, 70 receptions for 1,000 yards, 13 scores. Chris Godwin had 65 catches for 840 and 7 scores of his own. Gronk, 45 receptions for 623, 7 scores. Antonio Brown played 8 games and had 45 receptions for 483 and 4 touchdowns of his own. And then, I mean, there's just so many ways where Tom Brady can go with the ball, and the same can be said for Patrick Mahomes. This is going to be an incredible offensive game. Which defense do you give the upper hand to here, Tom, if any?
Well, I mean, the upper hand defensively goes to Tampa Bay just because they're the flat-out better defense. And, not to mention Tampa Bay's offense, they've scored at least 30 points in every game since week 15. And things really jump-started, like Hank said earlier, in that Detroit game for them. Defensively, they were outstanding. They shut out the Lions for majority of that game until the second-teamers came in. And one guy we haven't mentioned, folks, is Scotty Miller, the man who had that huge monster touchdown in the NFC Championship game. And, you mentioned Leonard Fournette in the last Chiefs game, only 3 rushes for about 10 yards. So he needs to be utilized more. That's for sure. And what people are really discrediting the Bucs for is the run that they've made. The last 3 wildcard teams to play a 1 seed in the Super Bowl have all, and in the big game, have all won. They've all won. And this is Tom Brady we're talking about. Why can't he join that fold? Right? Because we sit here and think about this run that Tampa Bay's had. They've actually done a really outstanding job. They've been dominant offensively. They beat Washington on the road. They beat the Saints and the Packers on the road. Those two, I mean, everyone says you can't win a playoff game in Green Bay, but, I mean, I think Tampa Bay won that game. I don't think Green Bay lost it. I think Tampa Bay won it early, and Green Bay was just trying to claw their way back, and they couldn't do that. So, Andy, I do think Tampa Bay does have the upper hand defensively. It helped them out in the Saints game. They were down 20-10, and I think they kicked the field goal, and then Devin White's running back the other way. And then the same thing in the Packer game. Aaron Rodgers didn't look like it himself for at least that first half, and that's what lost Green Bay that game.
Right.
There's guys top to bottom on that. I mean, you mentioned Antoine Winfield Jr. That's a very underrated player in the secondary. Carlton Davis, who we haven't mentioned yet, is probably going to be matched up. I don't know if it'll be him or Murphy bunting against Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
But I know Devin White's getting Travis Kelce. That is going to be the premier matchup for Tampa Bay defensively to look out for in this game for sure. And I think I really do think Tampa Bay has a better shot to win this game than what people are giving them credit for sure.
I agree with you. Absolutely. Let's go through Tampa Bay's playoff run here quickly. We start with a team that you guys are familiar with from the NFC Beast, the Washington football team, the Taylor Heineke game, guys. 31-23 in the wild card round. The Bucs win. They have 507 total yards of offense in that game. They came to play again in the run game, only allowing 86 total rushing yards, something that they're averaging in the playoffs. Quick playoff numbers for the Bucs: 391 yards per game, 271 yards through the air, 115 on the ground, a huge jump up, over 10 more yards than they were averaging in the regular season. Obviously, smaller sample size here, folks, only 3 games, but I still think that's a significant number. Anytime you can get hot, especially in the playoffs, that is what you want. They're averaging 30.6 points a game, the same as they were during the regular season. This team can score with the Kansas City Chiefs. Will they tomorrow? I don't know, but on paper, you'd like to think that they can. They're on defensively. They're only allowing 350 yards. I shouldn't say only. I mean, that's still a decent amount. But for the NFL, you like to be over 400, almost in the 500 range, right? 264 yards through the air. Can they fix that against Patrick Mahomes? They have to figure out how not to get burnt. He did throw for over 400 in the last meeting. Only 85.6 rush yards per game in the playoffs allowed, guys. They only allowed 66 rush yards against the Packers with that three-headed monster of A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones, and Williams as well. So they're only allowing 23 points. They've forced 7 total turnovers, including that, obviously, that forcing Drew Brees into 4 interceptions in that Saints game. But I don't know. There's a lot to like here. If you're a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, am I saying they're going to win? Absolutely not. But I do like what you said, Tom. It's a lot closer than what people think. So through the football team, it was close, 31-23. It's a one-score game here. Taylor Heinicke probably winning himself a lot of money with his performance in that game. They go to New Orleans, a 30-20 win there. Pretty much wreaked havoc on Brees, like I said. More balanced attack offensively in that game. Only 189 pass yards, but 127 yards on the ground. And then they only allowed 294 total yards for the Saints. And like I said, forced those 4 turnovers. Packers game, they had that long touchdown pass right before halftime that I really feel like set the tone and really set them apart. And they only allowed 67 rush yards. Like I said, they picked Rodgers off twice, and they did turn the ball over in that game, but Rodgers wasn't able to capitalize on it. So I'm going to credit the defense there for stepping up and getting a stop when they knew they absolutely needed it. Are they going to be able to do that against Patrick Mahomes? Talent-wise in the NFL right now, Patty Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, pretty damn close. If we're just talking about pure quarterback talent. So I know, obviously different offenses, different teams. I like what you said about Devin White. What's he going to be able to do with Travis Kelce? What is Levante David going to be able to do? I think that's a name to watch. Vita Vea, defensive tackle. Is he 100% healthy? Is he going to be able to really get pressure up the middle? And then Ndamukong Suh, guys. He's another one of those players that's gotten a lot better with age. It feels like he's really hitting his stride. So we'll see what goes on here. As far as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go, Tom, if you had to pick one of the 3 playoff games that they have played so far, what was the most impressive?
I think it's the Saints, because that was the one game where they really weren't favored to win. Even though they were at Green Bay, I felt more confident they were going to win that game than the New Orleans game, because they had lost to New Orleans twice in the regular season. And it was a divisional opponent they purely just couldn't solve. I think that was the one roadblock for them from getting to where they are now, which is the big game. And I think when you think about it, Green Bay, they destroyed in the regular season. I wasn't expecting them to lose this time around. And Washington is Washington. They made the playoffs by default, in my opinion.
The football team.
Yes. Yeah, the football team, that's going to be the football team again next year.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
You know what they need?
I meant to call them something else, quite inappropriate, by the way. But
No, don't go there.
They need a mascot that's just a football with like big ass like arms and a face on it. Like, just embrace it. If you're gonna be the football team, just go with it, man.
Just be the football team.
Sam, he said the Saints. Let me get your take
It
on
makes sense that DC United.
Exactly. Let me get your take on the Packers game, because you were one. I would say you're rooting for the Packers. You thought the Packers were going to win. How impressed were you with the Bucs in that game? What they were able to do against your beloved Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, the fact that I agree with what Tom said earlier, the fact that Tampa Bay won that game and like that Green Bay didn't lose it. So I definitely think, that game was very tight though. It was very tight, and even with that last play with Green Bay, whether Aaron could have ran in that touchdown or whether they went for it on 4th down, like we'll never know. Who knows? Maybe they wouldn't have gotten it. Maybe they didn't have the capacity to make it into the end zone. Like, we will never know how that game would have ended if there was some other sort of circumstances. The thing is, like, I really think that these two guys have been up. That's a good one. Washington Weasels.
Jeez, my mom's on fire with the comments tonight. I love it.
The thing like with the Buccaneers is that like sometimes they can be really, really great. Like they beat the Packers like relentlessly in the regular season, but then we also saw that Sunday night game against the Saints where they scored 3 points in total, and it wasn't until the fourth quarter. So it's like weird how they are very up and down. And even with Tom Brady on that team, you know, it kind of shows like they're not invincible, like they're not like this outstanding team that will never ever lose ever. But in this Packers game, I definitely saw the like what I was saying before, like Tom Brady just doing what he does, getting down the field, even if it's little yards, long yards, like whatever it takes to get down the field, he's going to do it. And like that's exactly the same as he's been for the past 20 years. Like this is why he's so great. He's able to almost like take that glory that some guys look for and turn it into like a smaller play that is more beneficial for you. So I think that that is kind of the mentality that he had in the Packers game as well. And then that's what he's probably going to bring to this game.
Yeah, absolutely. So Hank, I want to get your thoughts on Tom Brady's. I'm going to call it a resurgence this year, guys. This is the best year he's had in 2 or 3 years. Like I said, more completions than he's had in 5 years. His highest QBR since 2016. Is it going to be enough? Do you think his will and like determination, the TB12 method, do you think that he is the stairway to 7? I'm going to say it, getting that seventh title on Sunday.
First of all, I like that reference that you used, by the way.
Yeah.
Second of all, I think it'll at least make it a closer game, at least for the beginning, than it was the last time. You're not going to have another first half like you did last time against Tampa Bay. No way. But with that having been said, yeah, I think one of the things that definitely helped Tom Brady, I think leaving New England was probably the best thing he could have done. Because if you really look at the Pats teams, Bill Belichick, don't get me wrong, I've praised him immensely numerous times as a head coach, but as far as personnel decisions go, he stinks with that. He slowly ran that team to the ground. Like, look at the receivers he gave Tom Brady. The only one that produced was one that he got lucky with. That was Julian Edelman.
Yeah.
Nikhil Harry, bust. Took Mohamed Sanu. Didn't work out well. Traded a lot to get Brandon Cooks. I think one of them turned out to be one of the offensive linemen for the Saints. So the Saints obviously won that. Then he traded Brandon Cooks and then proceeds to waste a lot of those draft picks. Just goes to show you he's not good with drafting. Also, let's not forget, this is the same guy who took Sony Michel when he could have had Nick Chubb, and they both went to the same school.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, I think him doing well with the Buccaneers, it definitely has to do with him going to a better situation and a better team. But anyways, I think that his will, he taught them how to win. I think it goes hand in hand.
Absolutely.
I love that comment.
I knew you guys would fucking love this comment. Patrick Mahomes needs to call Eli Manning how to do it. He might need to. I mean, he is the one that knows how to beat Brady in the big game for sure. So that is our preview of the game. We'll get back to it a little bit. I want to get into some of these prop bets because that is one of the best parts of the Super Bowl, one of the craziest parts, the novelty prop bets. We'll start with one that's pretty simple. Who is going to score the first touchdown of the Super Bowl? Sam, I'm going to start with you.
I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes running it in for the first touchdown of the game because we've seen him do that in the past, and I definitely think that he will do that again. So I'm going with Patrick Mahomes taking it by himself.
Patrick Mahomes to score the first touchdown on the ground on DraftKings right now is plus 2,000. Quite a payday. I love that pick. Sam's pick for first touchdown is Patrick Mahomes. Tom, I'm going to go to you. Who is your pick to score the first touchdown of the big game tomorrow?
So I think in Brady's history with New England in the big game, his team hasn't really scored much in the first quarter. So I'm definitely going with a player from Kansas City. The first touchdown, I'm going to go Travis Kelce. First touchdown tomorrow.
That's great. I like that pick as well. It's plus 650, so still great value there for first. I think I might just take him to score in general because I think it's a lock that he's going to get in the end zone at least one time. Hank, let's go to you. Your first touchdown score tomorrow night.
You know what? I'm going to go with old reliable for the Chiefs. The guy who was quietly one of the best tight ends that we didn't really realize until Patrick Mahomes came along. It's Travis Kelce.
Hank is going with Travis Kelce as well, plus 650. Old reliable. I think Tyreek Hill is a good one here as well. Plus 650 for him. Mike Evans, if you're going to the Tampa Bay side, if you want to go against what Tom said, he's plus 900. Leonard Fournette, playoff Lenny, is plus 1,000. Chris Godwin, plus 1,200. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, plus 1,300. Gronk, plus 1,400. Antonio Brown, plus 16. So a lot of different options you can go with there. But that's always one. Let's go to the last touchdown of the game. Who is going to score last? Could be the game winner here. Could not have an effect on the score or the game really at all. Could be one that like pulls it away. Sam, I'm going to start with you again.
I'm going to go with someone who we were talking about earlier that kind of never shows up in a game and sometimes really does. I'm going with Robert Gronkowski to win the game-winning touchdown for the Tampa Bay Bucs.
Oh, plus 1,400 as well for the last touchdown. Sam is going big money on Sunday night, folks. She thinks Rob Gronkowski is going to catch the game-winning touchdown against the Kansas City Chiefs. Hank, I'm going to go down to you here. Who do you have scoring the last touchdown of the night?
I am going to go with one of the Steelers refugees. Now, which one will it be? I'm going to be bold and say Le'Veon Bell.
Woo.
Le'Veon Bell to score the last touchdown. Let me look at that. I got to scroll down a little bit for that one. Hold on.
I wanted to go with the really unique.
Plus 5,000 to score first or last. So hammer it. Hank says so. He's going to write it up on Facebook, I bet. Break room bombs incoming, hopefully, from Hank tomorrow on Sunday. Tom, it's your turn now. Your last touchdown score of the night. Is it a Bucs Chief? Who we got?
I think it's going to be a Buck, but not necessarily game winning. I just want to make that clear. I think it's probably going to be, I'm really torn between two guys right now. You guys got me good here. You know what? It wouldn't be 2020 without Antonio Brown scoring the last touchdown of the 2020 season.
Of course.
How did I know you were going to say that, Tom?
Just to be polar opposite of Hank.
Yeah.
Only
AB.
take the two Steeler refugees.
Absolutely. Plus 1,600 as well to score the last touchdown. So that's just something fun. I think for mine, I don't know, guys. I think this is really hard. I kind of like Mike Evans plus 900. I mean 13 touchdowns on the year. He is always in the conversation for top 5 receiver. I'm gonna go Mike Evans for mine. I don't know. I'm gonna go with Tom. I'm not saying that's gonna be a game-winning touchdown, but I think he finds the end zone here. So from there, let's go to a few more prop bets that I have found, some novelty props. So these are all off of DraftKings. So we're going to start with the coin toss, guys. Heads or tails? Tails never fails. That's what I'm going with, tails. I'm following Pat McAfee. The former Colts punter has $30,000 on tails in the coin toss. There's also you can go coin toss winner to win the coin toss and win the game, stuff like that. But we're simply going, what are you calling for the coin toss? Tom Scavetta, heads or tails, my friend?
I'm calling heads, and it's Tampa Bay in their home stadium.
Yeah.
They're winning the coin toss.
Yeah. Sam, what are you thinking?
I'm going with you, buddy. Tails. Always pick tails.
Tails never fails.
I don't know what it is, but that's always the thing that I think of. I'm like, you can't not pick tails. So I'm definitely going tails, and I'm also going Bucs win the coin toss.
Absolutely. Hank, what do you think?
Let's see. Heads I win, tails you lose. Oh, wait. No, JK. That's not how it works. Regardless, I'm going to take heads. Even things out.
Absolutely. Do you think the player will correctly call? Well, you guys all just said you two just said the Bucs would win the toss. So that would mean that – no, are they technically the away team?
The Bucs are the home team.
They are the home team. Okay, so you think the Chiefs player will correctly call it then? So no.
No.
No, absolutely. So let's go to first play. The first play of the game, pass or run? Hank, you start.
Let's go with the run. I think they might as well gain some yards in the trenches. I'm not specifically going to say who has the ball because I don't know who it's going to be. But I'm going to say that that's going to be the case regardless of who gets the ball first. It's going to be a run.
Yeah, so a first play of the first offensive play is a run plus 100. It's pretty much even money. And then pass is minus 124. Sam, what do you think?
I'm going with a pass. I think no matter who ends up with the ball first, these are Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady. I don't see either of them passing the ball off on the very first play of the Super Bowl. So definitely a pass.
This is one that I thought was pretty interesting. Any scoring drive to take less time than the national anthem. Tom, I'm going to start with you because I definitely just realized I forgot to ask you what you thought the first play would be. So give me your first play, and do you think we're going to see a touchdown that's going to take less than like 2.5 minutes? Is that how long the national anthem is?
Is it that long?
It's around like minute and a half to 2 usually. Depends on who's singing it, but I'm gonna go pass like Sam, and then I think I don't think we will. I don't think we will. Only because both of these defenses aren't necessarily prone to giving up the big play. I'd say Tampa Bay a little more than Kansas City. I'd say if there's one drive for that to happen, it would be a Kansas City drive. But I don't see Tampa Bay's going to make sure Tyreek Hill is accounted for in this game. So my answer is no.
Okay. Jersey number props. Jersey number of the last touchdown score to be over or under 24.5.
I need you to say that again. I didn't follow that one.
Okay, so the jersey number of the player to score the last touchdown, over or under 24.5. So is their jersey number under 24 or over 24? So you're thinking of guys like Tyreek Hill, McCole Hardman, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, or is it going to be somebody like Travis Kelce, Gronk? I guess we already kind of asked this question, but I just thought it was interesting that they put a number, like an over-under on fucking jersey number. I thought that was interesting. You think over?
Hit the over.
Hammer it.
Hank? To hit the under.
I'm going to use the imaginary gavel that I normally would for a certain Yankee outfielder wearing number 99. Bam, over.
Over. Tom?
Yeah, I'm hitting the over as well on that.
All right, we have a doink special. As much as I hate to fucking say this, any field goal or extra point to hit the uprights. Yes, plus 375. No, minus 590. Are we gonna see any missed field goals tomorrow night, guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Harrison Butker kind of gives me that he can kind of lean either way with his kicking sometimes. So I'm gonna go with yeah. I'd love to see a doink. That makes it so exciting.
I bet you would love to see one. Tom, what do you think, man?
I'm going to go no, because I think this is a game where the teams, if they're in a good spot on the field to go for it on fourth down, they're going to go for it and not kick like a 50-yarder, only if it's very late in the game. But we will see. And doink, definitely not, because Justin Tucker's not kicking in this game either. He had a couple points this postseason.
Oh, shots fired. Hank, what do you think? Are we gonna say doink?
I'm gonna go in the middle of what Sam and Tom said.
So
I'm gonna say there's that one random doink that happens. You know why? Because it's the end of the 2020 season. Anything can happen.
Anything can
Absolutely.
happen.
This is the one season where it's pretty much
Hi, Matt Nagy.
acceptable to say that.
Yeah, so Coach Matt Nagy checking in. He's been here for before. Hi, and he says, I'm getting Deshaun Watson. Well, I'm hearing you're getting Carson Wentz. So it better fucking be Deshaun Watson and not Carson Wentz. But that's not what we're going to get into. We're talking about the big game. Comment here from Kevin Xavier. Thank you so much for being here, Kevin. Will the first half be scoreless or high scoring? Anybody can answer their thoughts. Let's open this up. How do you guys see this going? Like, we've seen a lot of Tom Brady Super Bowls start slow. His team does not really pick it up till the second half. Obviously, you have to talk about the 28-3 with the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a theme. Tom, let's start with you. How do you see this first half coming out?
Kevin's my good buddy. He's my neighbor from across the street. I think he
Nice.
meant low scoring or high scoring. Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's going to be moderate scoring. I think it may be more towards the lower side. I think it's going to take both teams until the second half to kick it into high gear to figure each other out. Hank and I actually bet the amount of total points that'll be scored in this game, and him and I both picked relatively low 50 numbers. So I don't think this first half will be high scoring at all.
Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Tom. I definitely see this as kind of similar to how it was last year with the 49ers and the Chiefs. I mean, they ended up at a tie game at halftime, basically was 0-0 by the end of the second half, or the second quarter, rather. So I definitely think it's going to be a lower scoring game, and it would be interesting to see who is losing at halftime. And I have a feeling that if it's Tom Brady and halftime rolls around and he comes back to the second half of the Super Bowl losing, I think that the Chiefs better prepare themselves.
Absolutely. Hank, what do you think? You think we see a shootout? Maybe it takes a little bit to get to that point. What are you thinking here?
Before I get to that, are you guys ready for a fun fact?
Let's do it. Oh, I love it.
Did you know that in the 9 Super Bowls that Tom Brady has played in prior to that, only one of them he scored points in the first half? That, ironically, was the game where the Eagles beat them.
Oh, interesting.
First half or the first
quarter? The first quarter, rather. The first quarter.
Co-host is already.
Yeah, thank you, Tom, for saving me. Although he actually did come close to having a scoreless first half in one of his Super Bowls, believe it or not. The Carolina Super Bowl, the second one that he won, that was a pretty low-scoring one. Then it picked up in the second half. Although, as we know, that game's more famous for a certain Janet Jackson incident. But I digress. I think the first half will be relatively low-scoring, but then it's going to start to pick up in the second half. So, yeah, I'm kind of with Tom. It's going to be a moderately scoring game. Doesn't really pick up until later.
All right, here's one that's always fun. Obviously, with the winner, you see the Gatorade bath. What color is the Gatorade going to be? I have a few options. So red, orange, yellow, purple, or clear. So just like water. Sam, you're first.
I'm going with orange. I've noticed that orange is a consistent Gatorade color throughout the years. So I'm just going with the majority here, and I'm sticking with good old orange. Best Gatorade color, by the way. I don't know if I'm gonna get hate for that or not.
Oh, that's a whole different debate. Hank, what are you thinking here?
I personally prefer cool blue Gatorade, but orange is very much acceptable.
Thank you, Hank.
You know what? I'm just gonna go on a limb and say purple.
Purple. I feel like it's going to be a color that, like, because they're both wearing, well, okay, so the Chiefs are wearing red, the Bucs are wearing white, so I feel like it's going to be a color that doesn't clash with that. I don't know though. Tom, what are you thinking here?
I'm gonna go blue. You started to say red, and I started thinking, well, maybe it's red because both teams are red, but I mean, I know Bucs aren't wearing red, but you get the point. Yeah, I'm going to go blue. I just think it's going to be an off-kilter type of color, to say the least.
Absolutely. So those are our prop bets. Those are our picks. Let's get into actual picks for the game. We're going to do score predictions. We're going to and then I guess I was going to say the spread, but obviously with our score prediction, we'll see if you guys think the Bucs are going to cover this spread. So the Chiefs are currently 3-point favorites in the game. We're going to do our score predictions. We're going to do MVP picks, and then we're going to transition into some lighter big game topics as well. So, Tom, I'm starting with you. Chiefs, are they going to cover the 3-point spread? Give me your final score prediction for the big game tomorrow.
No, they're not going to cover the spread. I truly think that the Chiefs are only going. I mean, again, watch me have a heart-to-heart with myself tonight and say something different tomorrow morning on review and preview. But I could see Chiefs winning like a 30-28 type of final. Like Bucker misses an extra point and comes back and redeems himself late, down by 1 to kick the game winner, something like that. So I could definitely see that happening. You know what? Let's go with that, 30-28. I think I picked 55 total points being scored, but 58 is not bad either. But the Bucs have a much better shot to win this game than they're getting credit for. That's my way of saying I really, really, really want to pick the Bucs to win.
Yeah, you really like so hard. Like from a gambler's perspective, is do you pick against Tom Brady, or oh fuck, are you trying to pick against Patrick Mahomes? Because I mean, against the spread this year, I think the Chiefs were only like 8-11. Like
that's what I'm thinking too.
Not great, but it's just like I have no idea where to go here. And then Sam, you said it earlier. It's the passing of the baton, right? It's the Tom Brady. We've said it. He's been in 48% of the Super Bowls throughout his career. This is his 10th Super Bowl. And are we going to see Patrick Mahomes do that same thing with the way that team is currently built in Kansas City? It looks like he's got a great chance to catch Tom Brady by the time his career is over. But we'll see. So Tom is going Chiefs 30, Bucs 28. That would put the total over. The total is currently at 56. So over 56 is minus 109 odds. Under is currently at minus 112. Hank, I'm going to go to you. Do the Chiefs cover the 3-point spread? Do you like this total to go over or under? Give me your score prediction, my friend.
First of all, I think, again, under. I'm going to go under. And true to what I kind of said, a little low scoring, but I see it maybe picking up just a bit in the second half. I think the Chiefs cover it by a sliver. So I'm going to say my final score is going to be 28-24. Very similar to what the final score was the last time they played, but I can see it being the same score, but just a different game than what happened last time.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely very similar. I am going so back and forth in my head about this game because my heart wants to take the Bucs.
Yeah.
But my mind is telling me you're a fucking idiot. Take exactly the opposite of what you think. And I think I'm going to start doing that with all my bets because I'm just terrible. But I can definitely see the Chiefs. I can see both teams winning this game, guys. I don't know. But I can also I think it's either going to be the Chiefs by a couple scores or the Bucs are going to keep it close the whole time. I don't know. I don't know what to think. I'm going to be behind the bar tomorrow night, slanging some drinks, watching the game, losing my mind about my bets, I'm sure. A couple comments. James, Andy, take the Chiefs. I guess I have. Well, you just hate Tom Brady, so I don't know if I can. I got to take that with a grain of salt. James,
he removes us from the screen when he talks about Tom Brady.
Oh my god!
Against the whole playoffs.
Of course you did. So let's get Sam's score prediction here. Sam, how do you see this going? I think I know how you're going to go here, but I don't. I'm definitely not 100% sure.
Okay, well, I'm actually very similar to Hank, and I'm basically going with the score from week 12, 27-24, but instead of the Chiefs winning, I have the Bucs at 27 and the Chiefs at 24.
Sam,
I like that.
Bucs 27, Chiefs 24. Why do you think they're going to win? What's the difference this time?
I'm telling you, I've been rooting against Tom Brady this entire season. I've been saying since they lost the very first game of this season, I was like, well, we can't count them out. And I know they're going to make it to the playoffs, but I don't know if they're going to, whatever. And I kept constantly throughout this whole season betting against him. And every single time, Tom Brady makes me look dumb all the time. So I was like, it's, I was like, this is an important game. This is a Super Bowl. And a Super Bowl is something that Tom Brady is no stranger to. So it's mainly the fact that it's the experience. And I know that Patrick Mahomes is now coming off of a Super Bowl win from last year, but that's one Super Bowl win compared to 6. And I really my body is just rejecting the fact that I cannot not go with Tom Brady in this. So that's my reasoning.
I love it. So Bucs 27, Chiefs 24. We have a split decision here. It's my turn to give out my score, but guys, I have no fucking idea what's going to happen. I don't know. I just want to see a good game. That fucking cliche shit that you always have to say. But I'm sorry, my dog is really wanting some pets right now. But he's trying to get in on the brew. He's trying to get in on the brew party.
Bring in brew. Bring in brew. Bring in brew.
I don't know if I can.
Come on, Andy.
Hey! Brew's here for the pregame brew. So,
oh man,
oh my God, James said take the Chiefs. My mind's telling me Chiefs. My heart's telling me Bucs. I'm pulling a Sam's mom, and I just want everybody to have a good time.
Wait. Andy, can I say one thing?
Tell me. Absolutely.
If we take Patrick Mahomes out of this game, the Bucs 100% are winning.
Exactly.
Oh,
Patrick Mahomes is the dilemma that you're having.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely he is.
Don't forget that Patrick Mahomes is right now he's very scared to run because of his concussion, and we saw that. We saw that last week or the week before. So there's a possibility. There's a couple times he would take that ball, take the ball and get a first down. Might not happen as many times as you think now.
Why don't you let Brew decide?
That's what I'm getting to.
Bring out the crackers.
Kevin, with this comment, Brew did a pick for not the whole season. We started about halfway through the season. He's actually a German Shepherd Beagle mix. He's a fucking mutt. He's a weirdo. He is great. When he picks, I think he was either 500, either one game over or one game under 500. So not great. I will have him picking this game tomorrow, making a comeback. But yeah, dogs are great. He is the namesake for this podcast, obviously. But we'll see. I'm going to leave my pick up to Brew. Whatever Brew says is what I'm taking. I'm going to leave that up till tomorrow. Let's go to our MVP picks, guys.
To expand on Tom's point about Patrick Mahomes, he's right, but I also have to add Andy Reid into that.
That's true.
I don't, because Reid is 0-1 in the big game against Brady all time with Philadelphia.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but Reid made Pat Mahomes who he is.
Absolutely.
I don't know about that.
He kind of did.
Somewhat, yes. Somewhat, yes.
Kind of did.
Why do you? Well, okay, let's get into that real quick. Why do you say that? Do you think? Okay, obviously, let's talk about what he did at Texas Tech. Yes. He put up great numbers there, but there are not as a Bears fan, I'm going to get fucking salty here for a second. Yeah, we took Mitch with the number 2 overall pick. The argument there was not Pat Mahomes, guys. It's Deshaun Watson. It's Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
How many scouts really tell me were really spending all of their Saturdays in fucking Lubbock, Texas, watching the Red Raiders go 5-7 and not win any games? Sure, Patrick Mahomes was great putting up numbers, but there is something to be said about playing on a winning team in college football. And then would he be what he is without Andy Reid? Obviously, Andy Reid finally got that monkey off his back. He finally got his championship last year. And then I think you have to put a lot of credit on what Eric Bieniemy, his offensive coordinator, was able to do. And I think they just put him in a great position to succeed. But Mahomes has got arm talent that we have not seen, I don't know if ever, in the NFL.
But here's the thing. look at the talent that Andy Reid had before Patrick Mahomes. And I kind of mentioned this in my whole Super Bowl pick essay that like I told you about before the show. He had Donovan McNabb, Alex Smith, Michael Vick coming right out of jail, and he also he even won a few games with Jeff Garcia and AJ Feely.
Yeah.
Some of those guys couldn't even throw if their lives depended on it. He won division titles and playoffs games with those guys. He made those guys look better than they were. Donovan McNabb was like out of the league within a year or two after he left Andy Reid. I don't know if that's necessarily coincidence. And then we get to Patrick Mahomes. He knows very well that Patrick Mahomes is talented, and he knows that Patrick Mahomes is probably light years more talented than any other quarterbacks he's had. So he said, you know what? I'm going to sit you down on the sideline. I have Alex Smith, who's more than capable of giving us a good season in the division. Let's let you sit down and learn us while I fix you and get better. Look how much that worked out. Andy Reid's a great coach.
I think that we can compare this if we're talking Mahomes v. Brady. Let's just talk about the fact that people are still arguing, was it Belichick or was it Brady in New England?
That's a great point. That's a great point.
So at this point in time, a lot of people are thinking, yes, Belichick is a great coach, and he was able to figure out all this stuff. And with Tom Brady, he was able to win all of these Super Bowls. But Tom Brady was the one executing the plays. Tom Brady was the one giving lacrosse player receivers that he was able to throw to. So while Bill Belichick is a fantastic coach, Tom Brady was the one that was executing the plays. And I think that shows now with the Patriots not even making the playoffs and the Buccaneers are in the Super Bowl. So I think you can make this argument all day, but we'll never know unless we see Patrick Mahomes play without Andy Reid and Andy Reid coach without Patrick Mahomes.
Also, if you go back and you redraft, doesn't Mahomes go 1 anyways?
Right.
Right? Wouldn't he who picked first in that? Who picked first that year?
Cleveland.
Was it Myles Garrett?
Right. What if you redraft that? Myles Garrett's incredible, but
wait,
do you not take Patrick Mahomes?
You're right.
Knowing what he is now, I don't know. Tom, what's your take on this? Is it more Mahomes? Is it more Andy Reid? I think it's a combination of the both just being incredible.
It is a combination of both. And I think it's more Mahomes because Mahomes' first year, he wasn't working directly with Reid. He was working more with Alex Smith. And I think that's another person who's not playing in this game tomorrow that deserves a lot of the credit for Mahomes' development. I think it's a combination of Reid, Smith, even throw Bieniemy in there. And not to mention, Mahomes has had the luxury of having a potentially top 3 weapon at both wide receiver and tight end, which is something 98% of quarterbacks don't have in the NFL. And without those players, are we talking about Patrick Mahomes being, potentially the next Tom Brady this soon? We're not having that discussion right now without these two guys. Brady never had that. He had Deion Branch, Wes Welker. Brady kind of had that, Hank brought it up, the Andy Reid effect as a player. Brady had that effect on his own teammates. Yeah. As where we haven't seen Patrick Mahomes do that just yet. Yeah. You can make the argument that, look, DeMarcus Robinson is a relevant player. Brian Pringle and also Mecole Hardman are 3 under-the-radar receivers who are all going to make plays tomorrow for the Chiefs, in addition to Hill and Watkins. So I think right there, you kind of stacked the talent up tomorrow. And I think Brady having all of this talent helps. But when we talk about Patrick Mahomes, it's Reid, it's all the talent, but it's also Alex Smith. Let's not forget about him as well. But look, Brady's the best to ever do it. It's taken some people up until now to realize that him being on another team, throwing 40 touchdowns at 43 years old and running the table.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. So let's go over their stats from this year.
I'm not saying Mahomes is not talented, but I'm just saying it goes hand in hand.
Yes.
So well said.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point from everybody here. I absolutely liked what everybody said. Let's go side by side. Just look at their stats from this year. Just for shits and giggles here. So Brady completed 65.7% of his passes. Like I said, 401 completions out of 610 attempts, 4,633 yards, 40 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Mahomes completed 66% of his passes, 390 completions on 588 attempts, 4,740 yards, 38 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He had 740 more yards this year than he did last year when they won the title, and his QBR 82.9. That's the highest of his career so far. Obviously, this is only his fourth year technically in the league, really third year actually playing. But I mean, he's worth every penny of that contract that he that he was able to secure with Kansas City. So I'm going to ask you guys this. If you had to pick one quarterback for tomorrow, quarterback your team, you picking Patrick Mahomes, you picking Brady. This doesn't have to do with their career so far. This is for this game tomorrow. Who is better set up, do you believe, to win the game? Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady? Sam, I'm going to start with you.
I gotta say Tom Brady. I can't. Patrick Mahomes is an outstanding player, 100%. We've seen him flourish in the past 3 years we've seen him play. But Tom Brady has really done some incredible things. And like we were saying before, when he was on the Patriots, he wasn't given, star receivers. He was given these 6th, 7th round picked guys. It really wasn't like a star team. It was Tom Brady that made that team a star. So if I had to pick, I love Patrick with all my heart. I will have his number on my t-shirt tomorrow, but I would pick Tom Brady to win the Super Bowl.
Tom, who you going with? Pick a quarterback.
I mean, I think, and again, Kansas City has the advantage in this game because of their defense. If we're just talking two players and which quarterback I'd rather have, it's Tom Brady. And it still is Tom Brady, because with Patrick Mahomes, we've only seen a small sample size of what he could do in the big game. And he wasn't good. He was not good last year against San Francisco until the last 5 to 10 minutes of that game. I mean, and the defense kept them around. You can make the argument, well, yeah, he made some great plays at the end, and that's what makes him so great. He shouldn't have won MVP of that game. I mean, just think about it. He wasn't good. Brady has never performed poorly in any of these games.
Yeah.
Mahomes still has ways to go. People are jumping the gun on this kid, comparing him to Brady. It's too soon. So I'm going Tom Brady here.
Hank, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Tom brings up an excellent point. I mean, I remember Tom and I were having this text after the game last year at this time. You were we both pretty much agreed to disagree. Patrick Mahomes should not have won the MVP. Let's be real. If anybody, I think it should have been Damian Williams. He kept the Chiefs alive in that game, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, he still did well when it counted. So at the end of the day, a win's a win, and when your quarterback wins when it matters, that helps. But I'm not, by no means am I saying he was spectacular. I'm just saying he did what he had to do to win. But with that having been said, yeah, way too early to pick Patrick Mahomes. I think that's a little too soon. Talk to me maybe 5 years ago. My mind, maybe I'll feel differently, but no. Even though I'm not the biggest Brady fan, as I said at the beginning of the show, I'm man enough to admit the guy's his GOAT. Before this year, he went to the Super Bowl how many times, Ed Rooney? 9 times. So, yeah, give me TB12.
Absolutely,
Unless he's playing the Giants, then no.
0-2,
no.
right? I just want to clarify that. 0-2.
I had to know that was coming. Absolutely, had to know that was coming.
let's be honest with each
And
other.
if his defense could actually play against the Eagles, then yeah.
If it wasn't for the Giants twice and a backup quarterback who got hot, Brady's going for number 10 tomorrow.
Yeah.
He has a chance to be a perfect 10-0.
Let's just say
in these
Eli Manning really saved our lives.
You know, you could even throw Peyton in there.
We're eternally grateful.
Yes, I love, as a
Except
fan of
from,
the Toy Story movies, I love that line. You can also include his brother in there because there were years where Peyton won the Super Bowl. He had to get through Brady.
Right.
People forget Colts had that big comeback against the Patriots in 2006.
They didn't.
Andy, no offense, but I'm sorry. You guys aren't beating Tom Brady in that Super Bowl. Not with Rex Grossman as your quarterback.
Hey,
Wait. Trent
Good
Dilfer
Andy
did
from
win
our
one.
Giants.
Trent Dilfer won one. I think Rex Grossman was a little better than Trent Dilfer.
That's okay. Yeah, I will say this. Rex Grossman has the same amount of NFC Championship wins as Aaron Rodgers does. So I'll fucking leave that there.
That's a good point. I forgot.
I'll just fucking leave that there. But yes, I'll talk about that Super Bowl in just a little bit when we get to our favorite Super Bowl memories, because the opening kick, Hester taking that back, Bears fans were like, we're winning this shit. They're like, what? Like, what? It's already over against Peyton and the Colts. Obviously, it didn't turn out that way. But I'll say this, Rex is our quarterback. As a shout out to Lovie Smith, getting his back in the NFL, DC for the Houston Texans now. But yeah, Rex is our quarterback. God damn it, Hank. But where does this – okay, two more questions on this topic. Does Mahomes have a chance to catch Brady with Super Bowl titles? Do you see him by the time he's, let's say, does he play till he's 42, 43? Obviously, we don't know that. Is he going to be playing in his 10th Super Bowl by the time it's all said and done? Is he going for number 7 himself? How do you think he's going to stack up when it's all said and done to, I mean, who I believe is the GOAT? You go by the GOAT by championships, as far as I'm concerned.
I think it's too early to say. I really think that we are like way too early in Patrick Mahomes' career. Like the kids won one Super Bowl, which was great, but also, you know, he hasn't played nearly as long as Tom has. So I think it's way too early to tell whether or not Patrick will be, as, you know, going for, you know, to his 10th Super Bowl in, you know, whatever 2039 or whatever year it would be. But we're not going to see the last of him. We're not going to never see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl again. We're never going to see this is the new dynasty. Everybody's talking about this is the new dynasty. So I don't know if Patrick Mahomes does. The thing is that he needs to stay healthy. Tom Brady never ran the ball. He never did all that to injure himself. Of course, he's gotten his injuries in the past, but these young quarterbacks are they're more likely to get hurt, and therefore their careers are going to be much shorter.
Absolutely. Hank, what do you think?
Again, I'm going to say the same thing I said to the last question. Talk to me maybe when I'm in my 30s, and we'll see how Patrick Mahomes is still doing at this time.
Thank you for saying Patrick. It's not Pat. Thank you for saying
his
Patrick.
mother would
Yeah,
not.
no, I don't want to confuse him with the former Met pitcher of the late 90s, early 2000s / twin. But yeah, it wouldn't shock me, because let's be real, nothing really shocks me anymore these days with regards to football. But I don't really want to make that judgment until I'm in my 30s. That's all I'm going to say.
Tom, what do you think?
I'm going to one-up him. Hank's age needs to start with the number 4 for me to say that Patrick Mahomes is can have that discussion.
Tom, now you're talking about when my hair gets gray.
Mahomes has 9 losses as a starting Chiefs player. How many losses did Brady have before his second Super Bowl?
Hank knows.
Wait, let me do the math. I'm not counting the first 2 games because he came in the middle of the second game when Mo Lewis injured Drew Bledsoe. So
they were 9-7 in 2002.
12, because he only lost 2 games in 2003, so 12.
Okay.
way more losses than Patrick. I mean, I wouldn't say that that's a whole lot more.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. What does this do for his legacy if he beats Brady in the Super Bowl?
And he-
Obviously, that has to help if he does
Yeah.
take down the GOAT, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say he doesn't. Let's say he beats Brady, but doesn't get to 6. Does that help his argument as the GOAT or not?
Nope, not at all.
No.
No.
No? All right.
Mahomes is just not that guy. It's too soon. And Sam brought up a point just a minute ago. That's an excellent point. Mahomes is not just a pocket passer. I think the older he gets, he will transition strictly into that type of player where the element of his legs will be talked about less. It won't be as much of a factor. So I think Brady has stuck to just one identity his entire career. It's never been the legs. It's just been strictly one thing, and he's perfected that one thing. Mahomes is trying to perfect 2 things, and if he can do that 10 years from now, then I think we need to start to have that discussion about Mahomes being that number 1 guy potentially if the rings are there.
Right, absolutely. So just too early for that conversation. And I agree, but I think, with the way the league is going, the way obviously we saw his monster contract that he just signed, like this dude is like a month older than I am. I'm 25. I was born in October. He was born in September in 1995, and he is like just fuck you money at this point is what he has. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get on to our players to watch / MVP pick. So we're gonna go players to watch first because I don't necessarily want us to just talk about the one person we think is going to be the MVP because there are a lot of players that are going to have good games here. I'm going to start. So I think obviously we said it. Mahomes, Brady, you're going to look for them. I think Leonard Fournette has a chance to have a good game. It's like you stay hot. Just like playoff Damian last year, we saw Damian Williams, as Joe Buck would call him, playoff Damian, kind of rode that wave. He just got hot and he stayed hot. I think that Tyreek Hill has a great chance to go off in this game. I said it before, Travis Kelce, I think he's a lock to at least score 1 touchdown. I might be just kind of biased there as somebody that on my fantasy team this year. But Chris Godwin, I think look for him to get loose. And what can they do with Antonio Brown? Tom, a guy you put up earlier, Scotty Miller. Can he touches? Can Tom Brady find him? And then Levante David on the other side, I think he has potential to be a Super Bowl MVP if he plays up to that level. And then Vita Vea in the middle is who I'm going with. Sam, who are your players to watch? And then after that, we'll go to our MVP picks.
Yeah, you mentioned one of them before, which was Leonard Fournette. And I think we mentioned, I think it was Tom who said it before, or Hank, I can't remember who it was, but basically it was like, he's not being utilized enough, and he is a great running back. So I definitely think, especially with the Chiefs defense not being the best with the run, I definitely think that he's going to be heavily utilized, or if he's slightly utilized, I think all of his plays will be very good. And definitely my other one, JPP. JPP is a stellar human being. We love him.
Shout out to Stephen Shea. JPP INT. It's also okay. This might trigger you guys as Giants fans, but is he better now that he has only like 3 fingers? Because I feel like the stats almost back that up. He's almost been better this year than he was on the Giants. But we don't need to get into that, Sam. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
It's all good. Yeah, no, and my other person who I think we've talked about several times throughout this show is Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is going to be everywhere and anywhere for his man Patrick. He is going to do anything. He's going to tackle anyone. He's going to block. He's going to catch. He's going to run. He is going to be a huge star in this game. And I know we'll talk about MVPs a little bit later, but I think that a lot of times the quarterbacks are always given these MVPs, and there's definitely so many other players, such as someone like Travis Kelce, who would probably deserve it a little bit more.
Tom, what are you thinking here? Players to watch, somebody really jumping out at you.
I mean, Sam just brought up one, Kelsey. For me, it's 3 players on the defensive side of the ball. For Kansas City, it's Tyrann Mathieu. That's going to be a very interesting player to keep an eye on. He's kind of the captain of that secondary for Kansas City. And then James brought it up, it's Jason Pierre-Paul, because the Chiefs will be without their starting left tackle, Eric Fisher, and starting in his
Kilgore's
place.
out too, right?
No, so Kilgore was the guy who had the haircut when the barber tested positive for COVID. So Kilgore had like half a haircut. Kilgore was placed on the COVID list, but he returned to the team today and should be good to go tomorrow. But he won't start. He's a reserve anyway.
That is the most 2020 thing that I've ever heard.
It was really funny.
Yeah, that
Did
was
you
a funny
see-
situation.
What he changed his Twitter Aviatu?
Yeah.
Him with half a haircut, like half bald. It was great. He leaned into it for
Hilarious.
sure.
10 out of
But-
10.
Go ahead, Tom.
So, former Giant Mike Remmers, who will be starting at left tackle for Eric Fisher in this game, is going to be matched up against Jason Pierre-Paul. Mike Remmers has a history of playing right tackle. He's not your natural left tackle, and Remmers also has back issues. He's an older player. He's on the wrong side of 30. So this is a serious matchup that could alter the game in Tampa Bay's favor. If Remmers can't hold his own, Tampa Bay is going to win this football game. He has to hold his own against JPP. And Devin White's another guy, too. 9 sacks from the linebacker position in the season. Are you kidding me? That's unheard of. From an inside linebacker, not an outside linebacker, not an edge rusher. Kid's crazy. And Kansas City has Andrew Wiley starting at right tackle. They have Nick Allegretti, who's not, your typical starting lineman for them. He's only starting because Laurent Duvernay-Tardif opted out, and then their right guard. I don't even know who's starting for them at right guard. It might be Stefan Wisniewski.
Hold on. Didn't you hear Tony Romo gushing about Nick Allegretti in the last game? 73, Nick Allegretti with the huge block there. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm super biased towards him because he went to U of I. When I was like 19, I worked at the Panera Bread on campus, and he lived right above. He would come down and order bagels and shit every morning. So he's a really good dude. But I just that's all I'm saying. Just keep going though. You're right though. You're right. He's second year in the league, unproven.
Right, and when you're blocking Devin White, who can go up that A gap very easily, and you could have Levante David, who's a good veteran linebacker who could drop back in coverage. He's good for doing that. Then that concerns me a little bit for KC.
Absolutely. So let's do our MVP picks then. We talked about our players to watch. Let's narrow it down to one each. MVP picks. Sam, you're first. Who is your game MVP for tomorrow night?
Are we talking like who actually might win or who we think should win?
Who's going to win Super Bowl MVP? That is what I'm talking about. Like just the game. We can get into real quick MVP of the league if you want, but I'm talking Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, no, it's probably either going to be Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady. It always ends up being the quarterbacks. It's very rarely ever a different position, unfortunately. Like I was saying before, someone like a tight end or a wide receiver should, sometimes get a little bit of love. I think Julian Edelman won MVP one year the Patriots won, but besides the point, yeah, it's probably either going to be Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady.
Yes, Julian Edelman was
either
there.
one of those.
Correct.
Julian Edelman could get the Hall of Fame solely off of his playoff performances alone. Hank, who do you have winning the MVP award of the Super Bowl tomorrow night?
In fact, the only other player not named Tom Brady during his Super Bowl victories to win an MVP was Deion Branch. My MVP. Okay, Brew, thank you for interrupting me. You know what? I'm going to be bold and say Travis Kelce. I think Travis Kelce is going to be a key in terms of blocking, catching big passes. And if the Chiefs win, I think he's going to have a lot to do with it.
Absolutely. I think that's a great pick. I like Travis Kelce. Obviously, I talked about he's the lead receiver.
I wanted to steer clear from the
year.
quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard not to. Obviously, we see Sam pick different players, so I guess that doesn't really count. But I like Travis Kelce there for the Super Bowl MVP. I mean, their leading receiver, 105 catches on the year, over 1,000 yards as well. So, Tom, who do you have taking the Super Bowl MVP trophy tomorrow night?
So obviously it has to be from the winning team that I picked, which is Kansas City. So I'm going to go ahead and say, you know what? Give me Tyreek Hill, because he went off on Tampa Bay last time. So, and I think that's the one weakness potentially for them on defense. Yeah.
Cheetah, I like that.
They couldn't guard him last time.
I like that pick a lot. Well, that was going to be mine. Just based on, over 200 yards on 13 receptions, 3 touchdowns last time these teams met. How do they match up with him this time? We'll see. So we're going to get ready to close out the show here. We'll do a couple more fun things. One thing I will do. So Andy Reid said he has a double cheeseburger waiting for him if they win. Bruce Arians, noted alcohol lover, definitely have like a double whiskey or something ready for him. So who would you rather see on the podium winning? Andy Reid with a huge fucking cheeseburger or Bruce Arians with a large drink of alcohol? Because I think Arians would be drunk before he got to the podium. So that is my vote right there. Sam, would you go first?
Yeah, I'd love to see Andy Reid with a cheeseburger. Mostly because last year he said, like, after I think they won the AFC Championship, he was like, they were like, yo, what did you do to celebrate? He was like, oh, well, I went home and I had a cheeseburger. And I was just like, you know what, Andy? Me too. Like, I feel that, and I love that. So I know that I picked the Buccaneers to win, but I'd love to see Andy Reid stand on a podium eating a cheeseburger.
Hank, what do you think?
You know what? As much as I like Bruce Arians' choice of a good whiskey, I'm sorry. I'm a burger guy. Give me Andy.
Yeah. Tom, what do you think?
See,
I'm sorry, Hank. Keep going. I don't know what's happening. Just go.
No, Tom, you go. I said what I had to say.
Hank was hoping for a buffalo burger. That's what he was hoping for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway,
those are good. Those are good too.
Look, I mean, this show is called the Brew Party, so it would only make sense. I'm going with Bruce Arians here with the brews. Look, man, I mean, that's the way to go out and celebrate if you're going to win. But I would like to see Andy Reid with a cheeseburger as well. That would be awesome. But I mean, I want the Bucs to win, so I'm going to go Bruce here.
We go Bruce. We got a split decision. I'm going to go Bruce as well with the drink. I think him just all is there. Obviously not fully there, but him a couple drinks in on the podium after winning a fucking championship would be incredible. But then again, watching Andy Reid try to not wolf down a cheeseburger while answering questions would be all the time. Absolutely all the time. So before we close this out,
just a baller. I love it.
Yeah, come on, like in a Hawaiian shirt and everything. That is what I absolutely need from Andy Reid tomorrow.
Like even when he was coaching the Eagles, there was always something about that guy that I just liked. Yeah,
and he's hard not to like. I mean, you go back to that meme that is from him from like the pass punt kick competition, like way back when, where he's like 3 times bigger than the dudes competing against. They have the screenshot from television back then, which is absolutely insane. Like a 12-year-old that looks like as big as I am. But anyway, before we close out the show, let's go back down memory lane here a little bit. Obviously, I said like your guys' memories here are probably going to be pretty similar as Giants fans. Favorite Super Bowl memory? I'm going to start with Tom. What do you got here? Obviously, there has been a lot over the years. You guys have 2 of the most memorable Super Bowls definitely in history. What sticks out the most to you from the game?
So best memory that I got to live and actually see, I feel like if I was alive, if I was around for Norwood's miss, I'd probably be saying that. But because a lot of people just love that play. I'm going to go in 42 and say not the one that most of you think, actually. It's going to be the touchdown to Plex, because as big as the play leading to that was, I just think actually scoring and taking the lead in that game, knowing that we were probably going to win, was the best moment for me, because we knew that the game was essentially clinched, barring any miracle that Brady would be able to pull off. So I think that for me, the 62 Cafe touchdown play to Plaxico Burress, which was just a beautiful play where Eli Manning is in the shotgun, under a minute to go in the game, around 30 to 40 seconds left, and he throws a lob to 6'5" Plaxico, who's going up against 5'10" Ellis Hobbs. It was just no match for New England. Plaxico was wide open in the end zone, and it's safe to say Plaxico Burress was a huge part of the Giants getting to that point. So that was probably my favorite moment.
Hank, let's go to you.
I think you kind of know what I'm going to say. So to expand on what Tom pointed, I like that he brought up Norwood, because I've looked at and pretty much watched highlights of all the Super Bowls and looked them all up. That one, I legit, non-biased, think that was the best Super Bowl of all time. Very back and forth game, no turnovers, and for it to come down to that field goal, amazing, phenomenal. But my favorite one that I've seen, I'm gonna go two ways into this. First off, my favorite play obviously is the Tyree play. Eli was that close to getting sacked, that close. If he gets sacked, it's probably game over. But no, he gets out of it. He throws it down the middle, and you're thinking, uh-oh, normally that's an interception. But no, the football gods were on our side. David Tyree outleaped Rodney Harrison, caught the ball in his helmet. You knew the game was over from there, because that was just one of those things that rarely ever happens. He just jumped right up, football stuck to his helmet, and it's one of two plays that I think of are the greatest plays in Super Bowl history. The other I'm actually about to get to, and believe it or not, it doesn't involve the Giants, so I'm throwing you a curveball. But as far as the Plaxico touchdown goes, that was pretty much inevitable at that point. And you knew there was no chance Ellis Hobbs, not even just Ellis Hobbs, most cornerbacks, no chance they could cover Plax. He caused so much matchup problems. He was such a great target. That's why it's still so disturbing that the whole thing happened a year later. But I'm not going to talk about that salt. That's for another day. However, my other favorite Super Bowl play, this might surprise you. I'm going to go with the James Harrison 100-yard pick six. Like that, the Cardinals were driving. It looked like they were going to take the lead in the half. James Harrison's this big 300-pound linebacker. He catches it like right at the 1-yard line. He's like shaking off all these guys, goes all the way to the end zone. That was insane. I remember watching it. I'm like, how the hell did he do this? And like, I didn't really have any dog in that fight that day. I was just like so impressed. But my favorite one, obviously, it's the Tyree helmet catch. But the Manningham throw was awesome too.
Sam, let's go to you. I'm sure it's another Giants memory.
Well, I would say, yeah, like my favorite play is it's the helmet catch. I mean, that's like the most exciting thing for a Giants fan to see. I think a lot of people, especially when, people usually root against the Patriots unless you're a Patriots fan. So I think that was an exciting thing for a lot of people to see. But I definitely have a runner-up that it's not a play, but something that happened during the Super Bowl. And it was when the Ravens were in the Super Bowl and the blackout happened. That is one of my favorite things to look back on, because I think Beyonce was the halftime performer and she basically broke the stadium. So
yeah, it was Beyonce. Right?
Play-wise, the helmet catch will always have a special place in my heart. But in terms of just Super Bowl memory as a whole, it's when there was the blackout in the middle of the Super Bowl. Yeah.
I'm glad nobody said Janet Jackson.
Absolutely. Well, I haven't got to mine yet.
What's yours?
No, I'm just kidding. That's not my favorite. The James Jackson. Just
Okay,
kidding.
thank God. Otherwise,
No, but
I would have
I mean,
feeling.
no, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, so that like Devin Hester run back like to start the Super Bowl against the Colts was incredible. Bears fan, you're like, holy, like we might miss like oh it's happening earlier, but obviously being a little facetious, but that, and then I remember like one of the most memorable Super Bowls in my mind was the Broncos and Seahawks. Obviously, it was not a good game at all. It was Seahawks like 48-6 or something like that, never close. But it was one something like that. Like one of my first times hanging out with one of my like core group of friends right now, and it was like the hardest I had laughed like in my life, like in high school, because it had nothing to do with the game. The game was so dead, but it was because of like we like got in like a Twitter fight with these for no reason. We just started shit, and we're just because the game was so boring. We're like we needed something to entertain ourselves. That they had nothing to do with the game. That's one of the most memorable Super Bowls, and then obviously like Patriots Eagles 28-3. I remember being at work watching the first half of that game, getting off and being like, holy fuck, like she's about to do it. And or not Patriots Eagles, Patriots Falcons. Because my two roommates at the time are from Georgia. They're born in Savannah and like diehard Falcons fans. So anytime I could just say fuck you and like them not to win a Super Bowl, because they do the same thing if the Bears were in it, or if the Cardinals World Series or anything like that. So that was a good one. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many memories and so many games that you could speak of that we're just definitely missing some right now, obviously. But let's talk about our favorite commercials of all time, favorite Super Bowl commercials, if you have any that stick out. I know Doritos always does a good one. The Snickers one with Betty White from like 10 years ago was a great one. Would they have the one a couple years ago, the Star Wars with like the car? It was like a Hyundai or Toyota or something, where like the little kid like was with Vader and the car pulled up. But I don't know, Sam, I'm going to start with you. Do you have any Super Bowl commercials that you really like more than others?
You just read off like 3 of them off my list.
Nice.
The Betty White one is hilarious, and the one where the kid's Darth Vader, and I think it's a BMW commercial where he like the guy starts his car with his key and doing the Force. It's adorable. But I got to throw a little bit more giant stuff in there. The one with Eli and OBJ when they did the Dirty Dancing thing. I don't even remember what the commercial is for. I can't even remember, but OBJ runs into Eli's arms and he lifts him up above his head. I was thriving in that moment. I was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. It was hilarious. And then, yeah, you know, the Budweiser Clydesdale commercials are always like heartwarming and lovely and everything. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they were able to put out this year. I have a feeling that we're going to make some funny pandemic commercials for sure.
Absolutely. I'm sure we'll see a lot of like ones shot over Zoom or people with masks and shit like that. But Hank, what do you think? Any Super Bowl commercials really stick out to you?
Yeah, the OBJ one was a classic, even though he unfortunately put Eli in a quarter too many times. Yes, I did go with the Dirty Dancing reference right there. The Clydesdale ones are great, but I'm going to go a little old school. I like the classic one with the frogs, Budweiser.
Yes.
Never go wrong with those. And there was another one I liked a few years ago. It was with Morgan Freeman and what's his name? The guy from Game of Thrones, Peter Dinklage. They were in it. It was the Doritos one. That was pretty cool too.
Yes.
I remember that one.
Absolutely. Tom, what do you think? You have any that stick out to you?
I'm trying to think. There's a couple McDonald's ones that struck me, but The Betty White Snickers one was really good too. The one where you see her in the spot playing football was just hysterical. Like that whole concept of having to eat a Snickers to snap out of like her hunger or whatever it was going on, and then stop playing. Like Betty White, she's so over the top. Like,
Yeah.
it's
She's
so
a national
ridiculous.
treasure. God bless her.
You just have to cackle at that whole thing because she's something. So you know what? I'm gonna go with. I'm actually that's a curveball for me too because you guys kind of took the one that I was leaning towards, but we all think the same. Probably the Giant fandom thing, but yeah, I'm gonna go with that one actually. The McDonald's one wasn't bad either, where Michael Jordan and Larry Bird are in that little standoff. That was like back in the '90s,
Forever ago, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm gonna go with the Betty White.
The E-Trade one with the baby was pretty good.
Oh my god, those commercials are so good.
Forgot about that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll go from commercials to, I need to remember because I have definitely had a few beverages. What did I say we were going to close the show out with? What the fuck is commercial? Oh, food and drinks. Give me give me your ultimate Super Bowl spread. What is appetizers, main course? It doesn't really have to be appetizers, main course, but what is for me? I go, cocktail weenies. You need the wings. Maybe throw some pizza rolls in there. A couple pizzas, burgers. Who knows? I got it. Sam, what is the ultimate Super Bowl spread for you? Or ultimate big game spread for you? What do you have to have there?
We tomorrow we are making mini hot dogs, and then we're gonna make our own honey mustard with like fresh honey and mustard and like mix it together. So that's always like super good. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I make a banging buffalo chicken dip, and I'm making 2 of them because it goes fast. So that's definitely always has to be around. We ordered the wings. We always got to have the wings. And I believe my family is having a lasagna tomorrow and sausage and peppers. So got to throw in that Italian heritage, Staten Island strong. We love our lasagna and our sausage and peppers.
That's beautiful.
So that's definitely our spread and for tomorrow and what we usually end up having.
You're making me hungry with this, and I'm going to be starving by the end of this. Tom, what do you think? What's the ultimate Super Bowl spread for you?
Yeah, I mean, I might have to take a trip to Staten Island after that one.
Yeah,
classic wings and pizza. That's what I had last year. When I was living in Connecticut last year, one of my buddies had one of his friends make a bunch of wings for us, which was really nice, like honey chipotle wings, buffalo wings, anything you name it, and just like margarita pizza, regular pizza, whatever, So. But yeah, that's pretty much my go-to. And then a couple of years before that, I actually went to my friend's house out in Hicksville, Long Island, New York. He would cater like a bunch of different things, like mac and cheese bites, wings. Desserts too. I don't want to get into that, but yeah, it's wings and pizza.
Absolutely, Hank. What are you thinking, my man?
First off, Tom, can I join you on said trip to Staten Island, please?
Yeah.
Can we bring entertainment?
That's a question for Sam, isn't it? Like more than
yeah, Sam too. Actually, Andy, that is a very salient point. I really should have asked Sam, but you know what I meant.
Absolutely.
All I know is I'm going to be put in a food coma by the end of this. I like Tom. I enjoy the classic pizza wings. However, I also enjoy me some nachos, matzo sticks. Gosh, there's so many good Super Bowl foods out there.
I know.
So many good.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, I would say probably either wings, matzo sticks, and/or nachos. But I also love a good pizza. There you go. That's my
Absolutely.
answer.
Absolutely. Well, guys, it's been over 2 hours. I cannot thank you enough for joining me for the first ever Big Game Brew Party, our pregame show for the Chiefs and the Buccaneers. Super thankful that I'm able to connect with you guys throughout this journey. Almost a year. At the end of February, it'll be a year since I've started the Brew Party. Incredibly thankful that I'm able to connect with Sam, the group Talk Sports, and of course, review and preview all this stuff, all the collabs we've been able to do. One more time before we get out of here, Sam Cardona has the Buccaneers winning 27-24. over the Chiefs. Tom Brady is going to get his 7th Super Bowl in her eyes. Sam, one more time before we go, where can we find all of your awesome content for the Girl Who Talks Sports?
Yep. So you can find the Girl Who Talks Sports on all podcasting platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, anywhere that you get your podcast from, we're there. And then you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is just the Girl Who Talks Sports. We post full-length podcast episodes on there, as well as extra content videos. One of them is with Andy. We did a sports movie bracket, which was a lot of fun. And there's a bunch of other stuff on there as well. And I got a lot of things planned for the Super Bowl this week. So make sure that you subscribe there, and then follow us on social media on Twitter and Instagram at TGWTS Podcast.
Beautiful. Yes, that sports movie bracket was such a fun time. It's so hard going through. I mean, we said it like we were trying to, like I said it multiple times. Like I'm like yelling. My younger self was yelling at me for making certain picks, but I had to go with nostalgia mixed with like what's actually like the best movie. Right. Tom, your pick for the Super Bowl was Chiefs 30, Bucs 28. Sticking to that, Patty Mahomes is taking the Super Bowl for Kansas City. One more time, tell us about review and preview, and then, of course, your Super Bowl show you guys have going tomorrow.
Yeah, so you can follow us, subscribe to us at Review and Preview Sports on Facebook, at Review and Preview on Instagram, and then our YouTube channel at Review and Preview Sports. Make sure to subscribe to us there. And then you can check out our audio podcast on the anchor.fm/review and preview. That's a lot of fun. Get all our audio stuff. We put some sponsorships in there. And then our show tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern time, myself, Hank, will not be there. But the rest, I was about to list Hank as the first one because he's here, but I realized that he's not going to be there.
Yeah, Tom, you're already making my FOMO kick in.
Sorry.
From the break room, I'm telling you, you need it.
Gabe Flake.
No, don't worry. I'll make a surprise appearance in the comments for sure. Don't you worry.
I hope both of you are able to tune in for a little as well.
We will. I'll be there.
Gabe, Paul, James, and Kyle. We're gonna go from 10 to 11. So we're gonna, we're gonna talk basically about some of the things that you guys talked about too, and maybe elaborate a little bit on certain aspects. Go over the Super Bowl history. So yeah, we'll make sure to check that out at Review and Preview Sports Facebook Live tomorrow, 10 a.m.
Absolutely, and we'll close out the show. The one and only Hank, fresh off of your Facebook prediction of the game, Chiefs 28, Bucs 24. Closing thoughts for the game. Big Blue Avenue co-host Hank, thank you so much for being here, man.
Andy, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. If you want to read a full written out explanation or in-depth review of the two teams and my own opinions, if we're friends on Facebook, definitely read my post. I know it may be a law, but it's worth your time, trust me. But yeah, I think it's going to be very close, but I'm not 100% confident, but I'm taking Kansas City, and I can't wait. Just get me to tomorrow night. Get me my wings, my pizza, my nachos, my mozz sticks, anything. Just get me my food and my football and my beer. I'm craving it. And also, one more thing to mention. Yes, I may not be on the show, but I strongly, strongly encourage you guys tune in to Review and Preview tomorrow at 10. Tom, Paul, James, and Kyle, they're going to be bringing some good points, and I bet your house on it that our buddy Paul is going to be going all out with this Chiefs stuff for sure. But anyways, that's all about all I got to say. Thanks again, Andy. It's been awesome. I love talking football with all three of you guys.
Love it. I thank you so much for being here, guys. Sam, Hank, Tom, this has been absolutely incredible. Hope it didn't go too long for you guys. Our Big Game Brew Party, the first ever. Next year, we'll have to have you guys back, maybe with some more special guests as well. We're split. We don't know what we're going to do. Like I said, look out for Brew's pick tomorrow for the Super Bowl. Bucs versus Chiefs. Make sure you find us on Facebook at The Brew Party Podcast, on Twitter and Instagram at The Brew Party, or on YouTube, youtube.com/The Brew Party. Find our podcast anywhere you get your podcasts, on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Pandora, all of that good stuff. Thank you so much for being here for the Brew Party, for the pregame brew. This has been absolutely incredible. I am about to pee my pants, so I need to get out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, take it easy. Have a great Saturday evening. Enjoy the big game tomorrow. Let's go Bears. Bear down. Let's go, Mitch. Maybe the last time I get to say that.